small rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Star Wars #1!
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Oh, yeah, we are always honored. It is always an honor to have you join us here on Rebel Force Radio, your source for the Force. Welcome back. I know we're all still reeling from the big season finale or series finale. We don't know. We have some thoughts coming up later in the program, whether or not the season finale or series finale of Kenobi aired last week. And something we didn't get to in all of the Kenobi craziness and Celebration Anaheim, we didn't have a chance to look at that Andor trailer. Well, we're going to do that this week here on Rebel Force Radio. We're going to look at that, break it down as only RFR can do. Plus, speaking of Kenobi, the original plans for what to do with the character. Should it be, after the Disney acquisition, should it be a movie? Should it be 3 movies? Should it be a TV series? Those original plans are now revealed. Also, a little bit of news, and I mean a very little bit of news about Taika Waititi's forthcoming Star Wars movie. And joining us in the cantina in a little bit, great RFR friend, Kevin Lyle of Norse Legion. We'll be talking about Kenobi, obviously. We'll be talking about Star Wars Celebration from Kevin's perspective. And Kevin's always got something going on. So be fun to catch up with him. And someone that I always love catching up with is, of course, my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. Boy, it's weird this week not to have a fresh episode of Kenobi. Oh, man. I felt a little bit of emptiness, because it's been so exciting these last few weeks. I've really had a great time with Kenobi. But, hey, no Kenobi, no cry. We have Andor Ahead. And
yes,
it's coming in less than 2 months. Andor is going to be in about 2 months, from now. So looking forward to that. Can't wait to talk to Kevin Lyle in the cantina, hear all about his Star Wars Celebration stories and get his take on Kenobi. But I do have a snack time here. It's time for a snack, ladies and gentlemen, here on Rebel Force Radio. Yeah, I have goldfish crackers. But look, they're also Mandalorian images mixed in with the goldfish crackers. Can you see that?
Yes.
Can you see that?
Look at that.
Yes, it's the Mandalorian helmet and Ahsoka.
Wait a minute. What's going on? Where are these things? Are these
Pepperidge Farm?
These are out in stores right now?
Out in stores now. Mandalorian goldfish crackers.
Oh my gosh. Somewhere Steve Sansweet's shellacking a bunch of goldfish crackers on a desk so he can keep them in his collection forever and ever. Food's a tricky thing,
Yeah, shellacking. That's a good idea. That's how you save food product. Does that actually work? I mean,
I don't know. I just remember shellac was what my grandma used to keep her puzzles that she put together. I think you shellacked them, didn't you? Just to like puzzle glue. Is it shellac?
Oh, I'm going to do some shellacking when this show is over. I'm going to be shellacking my snacks. But I also have something else Star Wars related. But I need a glass. I came down here without a glass. I have this stuff. It's from Whole Foods. Blue Moon milk.
Look at this.
It's
what in the world?
Blueberry lavender flavored milk. And this just showed up, and I wanted to give it a shot. It's
now it doesn't have the Star Wars logo, so it's blue colored milk, right? But it's not a licensed Star Wars product.
Well, like I said, I forgot my glass, and so I've alerted my crew.
Well, you just
to
drink
bring
right
me
out
a
of the
glass.
carton,
Well, I wanted to look at it. I've never had this.
You haven't opened this yet.
No.
Okay, so then you just
but
go to the
I
grocery
need the
store.
glass.
What is it called? It's blue.
Here it is.
Oh,
There's
look at that.
Here's Michael.
Check this
There's
out. Michael Mack doing a little cameo here on
Got a
RFR.
haircut, and I
Wait.
just ate a pulled pork sandwich.
Wait a minute, you didn't get a haircut. I don't buy it. Look at that hair.
Say hi to Mr. Swank.
How you doing, buddy? It's been forever.
Oh, you can't see him.
I cannot.
Oh,
we're
here.
gonna make sure.
There we go.
Michael
Now you can see me. Yeah, I'm gonna
There you
grow
go.
my hair out like yours. What do you think? Can I pull it off?
Probably.
Yeah, I tried doing that during the pandemic, and I look like Doc Brown. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, he's. So Michael brought me a glass here, and Michael, you
Thanks,
purchased
Michael.
this stuff, this Blue Moon milk, and I've yet to try it or look at it.
I think you both should do a taste test. Let's see what you've had it.
I have already had it. So
No spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers.
Okay.
Obi-Wan shows up in it.
Here we go. I'm pouring some. It's not that blue.
It's
more
kind of a gray.
Yeah, it's not. I'm disappointed right out of the gate because there's very little blue going on.
So
here.
I would like to point out it is blueberry lavender moon milk.
Blueberry lavender moon milk.
Moon milk.
And what?
Yeah.
No,
I'm not digging it. No.
What's it taste like?
Milk with blueberries.
Okay, so like, does it taste like the milk that's left in the bowl after you eat a bowl of blueberry cereal?
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
That's good, Jason. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Blue moon, but it's not as blue as I was hoping.
No, it really needs to be bluer.
Yeah, we're not blue enough.
I was walking in the store and I saw how blue it appeared on the package.
Yeah.
And so naturally I'm like, that's Star Wars.
Right.
So I picked it up. It was $6 for this little tiny thing.
I think it was worth it just for this incredible father-son moment. And to think that you're walking through the grocery store and you see this blue milk and you're like, I got to get this for dad. Dad's got to see this blue milk.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
At first pour, it is surprising because it is just lavender colored.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, I don't know. What would you give it out of 10? What would you rate it?
A 4. I give it a 4 out of 10.
4. I'd maybe say a 6, 6.5 maybe.
All right. And I'm giving this segment a 3 out of 10. So we're going to give you some Mandalorian goldfish crackers and send you on your way.
All right.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, good seeing you, Michael.
You can
All
see
right, while we're
Michael
doing
McInerney with his band is playing at the Max this weekend on 47th, the Vaughn
Max.
building. Go check him out. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a website where people can you can follow him on social, right?
Facebook. Yeah. The
Facebook.
Vaughn building on Facebook. Yeah. Mhm.
All right. So while we're doing show and tell, I got a care package. Came from our friends at Kessel Run Hair and Collectibles. These guys in Australia. And they are just the nicest, coolest guys. So here's the note that came with. It says, Chut, Jason and Jimmy. Here's a Kessel Run care package. We threw in a few local delicacies and some hair products that we sell in the shop. Thanks again for everything you do. The force is with you both always. Marco, Michael, Matt, Jesse, and Marie, Kessel Run Hair and Collectibles. P.S. Jimmy, if you ever come to visit us, we're going to give you that Kitster cut you're always asking for.
Oh, the Kitster cut. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Everyone would be thrilled with that. But like I said, my hair leans more toward the Doc Brown these days, so I don't know if I could pull off the Kitster cut, but hey, I'll give it a shot.
Well, they were very generous. I got a confession, Jim. They sent a bunch of cookies and some chocolates. It didn't make it. It didn't make it. I got a 9 and a 13-year-old, and they're off on summer break, and they were delicious. It was. I love junk food. I got a sweet tooth. Mac will tell you. I always have to have dessert with all my meals.
This is true.
But I love sampling like cookies and candy from other parts of the world because they taste very different. You can buy a Snickers here in the United States. You go over to Europe and you buy a Snickers. It tastes different. It's like the difference between regular Coke, or American Coke and Mexican Coke. It tastes different. So I really enjoyed sampling. There was some great shortbread cookies and some chocolate fudge cookies, and it was awesome. But there's more. There's hair products. I don't know if you're watching, but who do you think uses more hair product? Jimmy Mack or me?
You have a choice between me, who often, I often have a bad head. Somebody said I look like a disheveled lawyer during our last show, and I took great exception to being called a lawyer. Let me just tell you. But the disheveled
scruffy looking?
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's a scruffy. There is a scruffy nerf herder element to my style. But Jason is what we call a nay-hoop. Not a hair out of place.
No.
Ever. Now your hair is looking a little longer.
It is longer right now.
You had a more extreme military buzz going on for a while, but you've let it grow out a little bit more. I like it. I like it.
They sent this great pomade, and I've never used pomade before. They sent it, and it's awesome. So a couple of hair products, but let's get to the Star Wars stuff, okay?
Yes.
I think I know who's getting what out of here. And I don't think you have this, but we're going to start with Max. This is the 2-pack of Grogu Mandalorian Mando with the spider.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Do you have this?
I don't.
Well,
I'm so up to speed. Unbelievable. Thank you so much, Kessel Run Hair. Look at that. Yeah, I've been plugging the holes in my collection as far as the newer releases go. I've been kind of aggressive about doing that over the last couple of weeks, but that's one I still don't have yet in the collection.
Yeah,
so
the vintage collection, it's a deluxe. It's got that great vintage packaging, and it's Mando and Grogu from that ice planet when they got the spiders. And,
right. That's a Macquarie spider right there. Right. That's awesome. Thank you so much, guys.
From them, and they sent me the because they know I'm a big Black Series fan. The Archive, A New Hope Leia from the Archive collection. What's great about this is you're saying, well, Jason probably has it. No, I don't, because what happens when they put the Archive versions out is it gives them a chance to maybe do a new face sculpt and do a better job with the real face paint technology that they got going on. And so this is definitely an upgrade. So this will be replacing my other one on the shelf. They also sent us a couple of T-shirts.
T-shirt.
So very nice. Jimmy.
Wow. Yes.
You got the logo for the shop there on the breast. Let's see who get that. And then I love their logo because it evokes, I won't say what it is, but it evokes something. But it's not enough that I think they can get sued. So there, check it out.
Oh yeah, sure. Shades of the Falcon.
Yeah.
Shades. I'll just say. But that's great, man. What a great looking shirt. Thank you for the action figures and the hair care products for Swank that he so desperately needs.
Right.
But
no,
I really
came in handy this morning.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you guys. Kessel Run Hair and Collectibles.
Yeah, and I love when you look them up on Instagram. I think I have this right here. I love their description because they come right out and say, "Yeah, we are not here. We are not pop culture collectors who. We are not a barbershop. We are pop culture collectors who cut hair. We love our Star Wars. That's
wow.
That's their bio.
Jeez.
So check them out.
I hope they expand to the States and I could go to Kessel Run Hair and Collectibles here in Illinois. That'd be
franchise. They should franchise this out to other Star Wars fans who happen to cut hair.
There's got to be a ton of them.
I would think so. I'd think so.
Thank you guys. Thanks.
Hey, by the way, if you're not visiting our YouTube channel, you really should. There's one video in particular that's just like tearing up the charts,
yes.
and as well as it should. Vivian Lyra Blair, who's just cute as a button as little Leia on Kenobi. Jim, you were there when she was introduced to Star Wars Celebration for the very first time. She made her, I think she came out after you all had seen the show, right?
Yeah. Immediately following the world premiere of the first 2 episodes, they brought all of the cast out, minus Joel Edgerton, who was not at the convention, And I don't think Moses Ingram was there either. But, I don't remember. But they did bring out Vivian Lyra Blair for the first time. It was her very first ever Star Wars public appearance. And my son Dylan's like, you should put shorter videos up on YouTube. So I thought, well, that would be a nice one to put up. And I did. And then 2 weeks later, it's at 300,000 hits. That doesn't normally happen to us on Rebel Force Radio on YouTube.
Just wanted to show it. Here it is.
Yeah. Here they are all coming out. And you'll see Jimmy Smits doing jumping jacks, which to me is worth the price of admission right there. Here he comes. Now watch Jimmy. He starts doing the jumping jacks. This is
he's with a mask on. He's like, look, I don't even need oxygen. Look.
There he goes. Now he's going to dance around a little. Yeah, he's the only one. He's the only one with a mask on stage. I do not see Moses Ingram. So yes, my recollection was correct. But here comes Vivian. She comes out there. She's that nice little red dress on, and she's running across, hugging members of the cast and crew. Definitely Deborah Chow, and ending with Ewan McGregor. And everyone loves this video, and the comments are all really positive. They're all very supportive of her and Kenobi. And, I think as Star Wars fans, we really screwed up with Jake Lloyd, And it's not just the fan base. It was like mainstream media publications. Ron Howard famously wrote an email, a letter, actually. This is before emails even. He wrote a letter to Newsweek cursing them out for terrible things they said about Jake Lloyd in The Phantom Menace. He was only 10. And so I think we have a second chance here with another 10-year-old.
Yeah,
and I think
point.
that it's a good opportunity for Star Wars to do it right this time, and support her as she's starting her career. I thought she was fantastic in Kenobi. I thought she and Ewan McGregor had great chemistry.
Oh,
I thought
me too.
She and Simone Kessel, who played her mom. We also saw Simone hugging her in that video. I thought they had great chemistry, and I think there's a lot of potential for this young actress to play a young Leia down the road. I'm talking an 18-year-old, 19-year-old Leia Organa.
Hey, why not? I mean, they've had such great luck with continuity with actors like Ian McDiarmid and now Ewan McGregor,
Joel Edgerton.
Joel. Yeah. Why not? Keep the pipeline going with younger versions of these characters that can show up in projects down the road. It's awesome. And look, here's the bottom line. If you like the show or you didn't like the show, or you like the way they wrote Leia or you didn't like the way you wrote Leia, she's a great little actress, and you can tell she put everything into it. And you're absolutely right when you talk about the chemistry between the two of them. Mm-hmm. And that's something that you can't write. That has to just come from the performers themselves. And I think they had it in spades.
So check out the video. It's there, youtube.com/Rebel Force Radio. And everyone's been watching it. So
yeah,
I hope that means good things for our channel too.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah, follow us there, subscribe, click the thumbs up, hit the bell.
Comments are good too. We're podcasters, guys. We're Jimmy Max had an illustrious career in radio, and I've been, doing this podcasting thing. And so the YouTube stuff, I'm still getting used to all of the different calls to action that we need to do. You need to subscribe. You need to hit the notification bell. But the comments are really important. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and, tell us why. If you didn't, we don't care. All right. Right. Hey, let's see what's on the minds of Rebel Force Radio listeners. How about that?
You must contact me.
Play back the entire message.
What message?
Message after the message.
The Emperor commands you to make contact with him. It's a trick. Send no reply.
Hey, Chet, Jason, and Jimmy. This is Alex from Illinois. Finally doing the Patreon. I've been loving going through the old archives, especially the Star Wars Oxycamp episodes. I wasn't able to call in for the Obi-Wan after show, but after listening to the podcast, I was thinking a lot about Darth Vader being the one to say he killed Anakin Skywalker. And we know it gives a lot more context to what Obi-Wan says to Luke in A New Hope about how he betrayed and murdered his father. Something I didn't hear much discussion about, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on it, is how it changes what we know about Vader from the original trilogy. When he's talking to Palpatine in Empire Strikes Back, they refer to Luke as the son of Skywalker. But then at the end of the movie, Vader tells him, I am your father. So now, based on what we saw in the show's finale, this is the first time Vader is acknowledging that he's the same person as Anakin Skywalker. And later on in Return of the Jedi, he tells the Emperor, my son is with them. So it continues on with that through line of blurring the identity between Vader and Anakin. Anyway, just wanted to hear your thoughts on that dialogue, since I feel like it's a pretty big revelation to us for how Vader views himself in the original trilogy. And I love the show. Bye.
Alex, thanks for that. Jim, this really got my motors running today when I heard Alex's question. It's Jim and Alex, both from Chicago. And so I immediately, I divided it in my head as two different questions. And I think we can cover this over a couple of episodes, because I really do want to go back and revisit some of this dialogue, because it does change our perception. There is the dialogue of Kenobi to Luke about Vader / Anakin, but there's also this narrative that Anakin / Vader is sort of spinning about himself. And when does, and I wanted to look at the instances where Vader refers to Anakin one way or another across the saga. So I've got some audio here, and want to run these by you, because I think these are big moments. These are big moments. Right. We're focusing on Vader referencing Anakin Skywalker. Canonically, we're not talking about Clone Wars. We're going to start with Kenobi.
I am not your failure, Obi-Wan. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did.
Man, I love the way he plays that scene. I must have watched that. There's some great compilations. If you just want to watch the battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin and Vader in that finale, you can see that sort of edited together on YouTube. I've watched that probably 50 times. I absolutely love it. So when is the next time that we hear about Anakin Skywalker or the son of Skywalker? And it pops up again when Palpatine sends that transmission to Vader on the Executor. And of course, this is how that goes. And I know you're like, I know all this dialogue, but it pays to listen to it again, especially in light of what we watched with Kenobi.
What is thy bidding, my master?
There is a great disturbance in the Force.
I have felt it.
We have a new enemy. The young rebel who destroyed the Death Star. I have no doubt this boy is the offspring of Anakin Skywalker.
How is that possible?
Search your feelings, Lord Vader. You will know it to be true. He could destroy us.
He's just a boy. Obi-Wan can no longer help him.
The Force is strong with him. The son of Skywalker must not become a Jedi.
If he could be turned, he would become a powerful ally.
Yes. He would be a great asset. Can it be done?
He will join us or die, Master.
You wonder, Jim, when you listen to that, who's manipulating who exactly in that clip? Because on the one hand, I feel like Vader is feigning not knowing who that boy was.
Right.
And on the other hand, I when he says, when he talks about how he, if he could be turned, he's like, yes. Like, oh, what a good idea. I hadn't thought of that. But they're each kind of playing a chess game where they're trying to stay one or two moves ahead of the other.
Right. Well, okay. Putting comic book continuity aside, which tells us that Vader already knew who was responsible for destroying the Death Star. In this, it plays out as if the Emperor is delivering that news to Vader. Now, see, hold on. Let me rewind this all together because I always forget about this one slippery moment when the Empire shows up at the Hoth system.
That is the system, and I'm sure Skywalker is with them. Set your course for the Hoth system.
So Vader clearly already...
Oh, I missed that one. Dude, I was going through the film in my head. I missed that reference to Skywalker. That's what I was trying to catalog there.
That's the one. It just hit me like a lightning bolt. So he says, yes, and I'm sure Skywalker is with them. Prepare your men. So Vader is already tipped off to the whole Skywalker thing. He's not keeping it a secret from his officers either. So...
yeah.
How did it? So maybe that just, went through the grapevine
there, and I'm sure Skywalker is with them.
Yeah. So he already knows.
We also see in the opening crawl of Empire Strikes Back that Vader is, quote, obsessed with finding young Skywalker. That's what the opening crawl
does say that in the crawl. So the comics continuity is kind of important now. All of a sudden, I was
essentially
sweeping it under the rug and not recalling that moment when Vader reveals that he's aware Skywalker is running around with the rebels.
Yeah.
So Palpatine is definitely not delivering that news to him in the hologram. Vader is hiding that from Palpatine. Palpatine found out. So Vader then starts manipulating Palpatine. If he can be turned, here's an idea. But see, Vader already wants to convince Luke to join him so he can destroy Palpatine.
Right. They're both manipulating each other. Vader is that how is this possible is sort of like when you tell your kids to do something and they go, "What?" They heard you. They're just stalling. And that to me, that was Vader's stall. How is this possible? He's going to feign that he doesn't know. In my head canon, because I didn't read, the comics like you did, I always assumed that, when Vader is, throughout A New Hope, he's talking about, I sense something, a presence I haven't felt. And then when he's chasing down Luke in the trench of the Death Star, the Force is strong with this one. So you get a sense that his senses are very attuned, and something is up with this pilot that he stands out to Vader in some way. And so I always just kind of felt that he eventually realized it, reaching out to the Force, searching his feelings. And, but, like you say, the comic has Boba Fett, right? Boba Fett doing the reconnaissance for Vader.
Yeah, Boba actually goes to the Lars homestead. Hey, can I ask you a question about something you said? When Vader says, I sense something, a presence I've not felt since, do you think he's talking about Luke?
No, I guess what I meant is, no. He's talking about Kenobi, obviously. What I mean is, throughout A New Hope, they're establishing that he has this ability to sense and pick up the presence of others and things. So, something as strong as the bond between, parent and child, even when, even in our own universe, there have been parents that maybe have given up their children at birth for adoption, and there's a connection, and they still sense, that, maybe they're still alive, or maybe something has happened. It's fascinating stuff. But and certainly we know that in the Star Wars universe. So the next time we hear Vader referring to Skywalker or Anakin Skywalker, it's kind of roundabout, but he takes paternity ownership here.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No, I am your father.
So, again, going back to my headcanon and how I interpreted this scene, going back as a kid, I always felt that Vader's delivery of this was almost hushed. Now, I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying that it's almost like he's telling Luke a secret. No, He almost whispers it in a way. Yeah. And I just have always interpreted it as, I'm letting you in on this. I'm lifting the veil here of secrecy and dropping all the pretense of this other character, this character of Vader. Now I think it's a manipulative tactic in some ways, but I also think that he's trying to play on. I think it's a manipulation, but at the same time, I think he's maybe whether he's doing it on purpose or not, he's opening himself up to admitting who he is or who he was, and that there's this connection between him and Luke.
And that's a whole part of him he's been burying for a long time. He probably has that tentative nature to exposing himself that way. And that's maybe why the tone is hushed. It's like watching an alcoholic have a drink for the first time in 10 years, you know? There's probably a little nervousness in something like that, you know? And a little tentative nature involved in that. He is revealing himself, and this is something that he obviously worked very hard on burying for all those years. And so now he's opening himself back up to it again. So now you ask yourself questions. When you first see the original trilogy, why does Luke think Darth Vader has good in him? Why does Luke believe that the essence of his father is still existing in Darth Vader? Because what does Darth do? He tries to lure him to the dark side. He chops off his hand, and Luke chooses death over joining his father and jumps off of the weather vane or whatever that is in the Bespin shaft.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's fallen to his death right there, but the will of the Force works in mysterious ways, and Luke's life gets saved at that moment. So then he gets a connection with Vader in the Falcon as they're escaping the Star Destroyer. And Vader reaches out, goes, Luke. And Luke sits up and says, Father, right away.
Yes, that's the moment.
That's the moment when Luke realizes there's still good in Anakin.
And then Vader returns and says, son.
Yeah.
He goes, Father,
right.
Son.
That's a very important moment. I think it often gets overlooked, because then by Return of the Jedi, Luke is saying, there's still good in him. I can help him. When I was watching, he chopped your hand off and you decided to kill yourself because he was your father. Now there's good in him. Where's this coming from? It comes in that moment.
Yep.
But we're also learning as an audience, it comes in the moment when Vader starts, he says, I am your father.
Yep.
That's what he's saying. I, Anakin. He's not saying I, Darth Vader. He's saying I, Anakin, am your father. That's the biggest moment right there.
Yes.
That is the biggest moment. And Vader can't turn back once he's opened up. He can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. So the next time he sees Palpatine, he's much more confident. And I don't know what audio.
Oh, sorry. Well, so let's jump to Return of the Jedi. And the next time that he sort of shows this weakness is when he approaches Palpatine on the Death Star 2 and talks about the band of rebels that has landed on Endor.
Yes.
A small rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
Sounds familiar.
Yes, I know.
My son is with them.
My son. Not the son of Skywalker.
Are you sure?
I have felt him, my master.
Strange that I have not. I wonder if your feelings on this matter are clear, Lord Vader.
They are clear, my master.
Then you must go to the Centauri moon and wait for him.
He will come to me.
I have foreseen it. His compassion for you will be his undoing. He will come to you, and then you will bring him before me.
As you wish.
I think there's a few, I think, really cool moments in there. And the one is the fact that he doesn't call him the son of Skywalker. He says, my son is with them. And I think this is starting to freak Palpatine out. I don't think Palpatine likes him referring to himself as Anakin Skywalker in any way. And the fact that when he says, oh, strange that I have not, that's because Anakin is reaching into something, family, love. Those are the things that are allowing him to have this connection with Luke that Palpatine's closed off from, because he doesn't have a real connection to him.
Yes. Yeah. It's, that key moment at the end of the final episode of Kenobi, when Vader is telling Palpatine he's unleashing holy hell on the universe to track down Kenobi, to bring his former master to justice and all of this stuff. And Palpatine just basically says, hey, you can't worry about Anakin Skywalker stuff anymore. And Vader kind of sits up, and it's almost like a switch is flipped. And he's like, yes, master. There is who cares about Obi-Wan Kenobi? That's Anakin stuff. I'm Vader now. I got to worry about Vader stuff.
That's Anakin stuff. Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
So that's when he completely abandons the persona of Anakin Skywalker for the next 10 years. And it's not until Luke blows up that Death Star. The Force is strong with this one. Who's taking notice of that? Is it Vader or is it Anakin? Mm-hmm. I think it's Anakin Skywalker.
I do too. And there's a great, isn't there a moment in the Clone Wars where the Matt Lanter version of Anakin says something similar about the Force is strong with this one when he's in a similar situation?
Well, that's like a good question. There's like 100 episodes.
I know. But I feel like that's one of those moments that they kind of, borrow in the Clone Wars.
Sure.
Which is cool. I've got one more because this has been a lot of fun. Another, I think, which is one of the coolest moments in the whole, Vader Luke saga, is that confrontation or the discussion they have on Endor when Luke surrenders himself to Vader.
The Emperor has been expecting you.
I know, Father.
So, you have accepted the truth.
I've accepted the truth that you were once Anakin Skywalker, my father.
That name no longer has any meaning for me.
It is the name of your true self you've only forgotten. I know there is good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully. That was why you couldn't destroy me. That's why you won't bring me to your Emperor now.
Oh, yeah?
I see you have constructed a new lightsaber. Your skills are complete. Indeed, you are powerful, as the Emperor has foreseen.
The temptation.
Come with me.
Obi-Wan once thought as you do. You don't know the power of the dark side. I must obey my master.
I will not turn, and you'll be forced to kill me.
If that is your destiny.
Suit your feelings, Father. You can't do this. I feel the conflict within you. Let go of your hate.
It is too late for me, son. The Emperor will show you the true nature of the Force. He is your master now.
Then my father is truly dead.
So there you go, that moment, and Vader is just left.
Yeah.
He just stands there overlooking, the view there on Endor, just thinking and thinking and thinking.
Chewing on that.
Yeah.
But see, again, it's it's the case he's allowed Anakin to come back into his life. Yes. And he's confident he has this plan to get Luke to join him so they can destroy the Emperor and take over the galaxy as father and son. He's got this plan. He feels good about it. And he's feeling confident enough in Return of the Jedi to say, my son is with them. To Palpatine. I don't think that's a mistake. I think Vader is starting to feel confident in his plan.
Like he's flaunting it, Luke. Kind of flaunting it in front of Vader?
He's not trying to contain it. He's not trying to contain it. He does expose himself to the Emperor, but he doesn't care because he has confidence in his plan that he's going to get Luke to join him and they're going to kill the Emperor and take over the galaxy. So that's why he's trolling Palps a little bit with that stuff. For the longest time, I thought maybe he's making a mistake. My son is with him, and then Palpatine. I don't think your head's on straight here, pal. You're Darth. You're not Anakin. This is Anakin stuff you're bringing.
Oh, that's a cool spin on that line. I wonder if your feelings on this matter are clear, Lord Vader. Let me remind you who I'm talking to here.
Yeah, this is Anakin garbage you're throwing at me. You better cut that out now. But so great examples of how we can really get more out of rewatching the original trilogy following Kenobi.
Yeah.
There's so many different little touch points in A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, especially in Jedi, where it all just makes more sense now, doesn't it?
It does.
To me, it does. There's more clarity now.
So, Alex,
I like that.
Thank you so much for the question, because I was really excited about it. And in a future episode, I want to go and I want to look at some of the Kenobi dialogue that he's talking, the evolution of how Kenobi talks to Luke about Anakin from what we, from A New Hope, then to Return of the Jedi, where he kind of comes a little more clean. Because that as I was going through these clips, I was watching or looking at some of those, and that takes on a whole new resonance as well. So, and that's what it's all about, man. That's what I love about how the saga is evolving, in being contributed to, I think, in meaningful ways. Because even if you don't love everything that they're doing on the series itself, it certainly gives you a new way to look at the movies you do love, and I think that's really cool.
Fresh perspective.
Yeah.
And for a film franchise that's been around going on to 50 years now, we're getting closer and closer to that 50th anniversary. It's nice to have fresh perspectives on movies that came out in the 70s and 80s. It keeps it alive, it keeps it vibrant, it keeps it evolving, and gives us a lot to talk about.
Well, let's talk some more. We've got the Andor trailer. So let's we haven't gotten to this. This debuted at Star Wars Celebration. We watched it, but we just never got around to doing our trailer breakdown. So let's do it. I'm going to pull it up here. There it is. Okay, so here we go. We start the trailer, and I don't think we have any planet names that have been revealed yet for this series.
Not that I'm aware of, really. This trailer is fresh to me. I don't know anything. It appears that I find similarity in this environment to Jeddah City. But I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. That could be the fact that, there's a lot of creatives that worked on Rogue One also working on this series, most notably Tony Gilroy. They're not bringing Gareth back for this series at all, are they? That's kind of a shame.
I don't think so.
No.
Oh, here's the bell ringer.
And this is just you really need somebody to tell you that this is Star Wars you're looking at here, because this doesn't resemble anything Star Warsy to me.
It has kind of a post-apocalyptic kind of vibe. So you see these villagers here. So what I'm assuming, Jim, is just some sort of warning system that they have. So they bang this this thing in the tower, and maybe it alerts the inhabitants that someone's coming or something's happening.
Assuming these scenes are connected at all.
Correct.
You know how trailers can play games with you that way. So villagers, they're looking up, and it appears a ship is crashing onto their planet. These villagers look, they don't look like their society is very technological.
No, they definitely have a primitive vibe to them.
Primitive, yeah.
Yeah.
Bows and arrows, that kind of thing.
Which we saw a lot of on the Clone Wars, it seemed like. There was, they were always dropping in on different cultures that were, not quite as technologically advanced as the Jedi or the Separatists.
Yeah. Again, you have to tell me this is Star Wars.
Yeah. Now, I mean, we have
like
seen kind of a junk planet like this. Mayfeld was doing hard time in The Mandalorian with, kind of a similar vibe.
There have been junkyard planets going back to Shadows of the Empire.
And here's some scientists.
Scientists in a lab.
Yeah. They don't seem to be decked out in the Imperial, like Jin's dad was. They're not wearing the same Galen Urso scrubs.
No, not the same, but I get a similar feel from, similar vibe. They could be part of that. Here's another, they're out on a grassy, hilly environment.
Well, now we're seeing, is that a hoodie?
Hoodies. There is a hoodie.
Oh man, I wish I hadn't seen this. I don't want to go all Paul Bateman on it, but I don't know about the hoodie. I mean, is this the key grip that ended up in the frame?
That's the blue jeans guy from that episode of Mandalorian.
Because I was about to say,
there's another hoodie.
There's another hoodie. Oh my God, there's another hoodie. Because I was looking at this dude's jacket, and I'm like, oh, okay, well that looks, that's kind of got that. It's sort of the green version of the yellow jacket Luke wears at the end of A New Hope, ceremonial Luke, with some of the, Anyway, but yeah, hoodie invasion.
Yeah. Finally, my fashion sense has become Star Wars specific.
That's what it is. It's a Jimmy Mack tribute. All right, warning.
Green hoodie.
So they're more
that
banging.
hoodie had a little Nike swoosh on it, I think. No,
oh God, don't say that.
Now this is the first thing I'm seeing that feels Star Wars to me. These are the Republic drop ships that we saw going back to Attack of the Clones and the battle in the Geonosis arena. Of course, these ships were seen heavily in the Clone Wars animated series, and here they are in Andor. So this is post Clone Wars era stuff, but these old ships are still in service.
All right, and looks like looks like these could be the survivors of that crash.
Okay,
perhaps.
Or scavengers,
right? Yeah,
right. Or it's a funny hat convention.
Is that a Embo hat we see back there?
It does look kind of like that. Yeah.
Right. So so far, the vibe I'm getting, from this is just warning, invasion. Something bad is coming. Everybody, whether these are obviously different planets, different locations, but everyone is sort of like taking cover or being told to take cover.
Yeah. Before it hits the fan. And we see, clearly now we're seeing stormtrooper armor in the background of this shot of a young woman there. She's like leaning up against, it looks like she's trying to lay low.
Yeah.
She's trying not to be noticed by these Imperial troops. We don't know what her deal is, obviously, but she's up to something. She's up to something, this one. I could just tell.
We know espionage is a big part of this. This is a spy series, a spy thriller.
So these guys, the door gets open here. These guys look like some sort of officials, like maybe cops, and they're dressed in that feels Star Warsy to me.
The hats, for sure. Imperial officer style hats, different color scheme.
I get kind of like a mashup between an Imperial officer and a Bespin guard.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, not so much as far as the accuracy. Again, these are vibes I'm just getting, vibes.
Yeah. Or it's the Census Bureau.
Yeah, here they are. How many people live in here?
Oh, now we get to see Cassian. So
Finally.
Cassian looking around. I think we're going to see him lurking around corners a lot.
Yeah, poking his head around the corner, snooping in the shadows.
And this is going to be, I think we're going to see some de-aging going on probably in some of these episodes because we're going to be seeing a younger version of him.
Well, yeah, he started this fight when he was 12 years old or 6 years old. 6 years old. That's what it was. 6, not 12.
Oh, there's some more stormtroopers.
Yeah, it's good to see. Good to see. Very Star Warsy. Here it looks like those scientists are sitting around in a conference room now. The room itself feels Star Warsy to me. There's an Imperial cog on the wall, so we know these guys are probably scientists, much like the ones Galen Erso was working with.
Yeah, it's a very sterile environment. As
hologram projector there on the floor in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's probably the lead guy, right? He has all blue, what do you call it? Rank,
the insignia on his, yeah.
Wearing the white Imperial officer garb of the Imperial Security Bureau.
He's got those pens. Those pens in the pockets.
the code cylinders.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, we've often seen that look for the security guys, going back to Admiral Yularen in A New Hope. But Krennic wore this stuff. He wore kind of a whitish Imperial officer shirt.
Yeah.
And these guys, but so I'm just getting like, again, scientist vibes off of him.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And he's got kind of longer hair. So, you know, we might be seeing a little bit of that 70s aesthetic that we saw in Rogue One a bit.
Good call.
Shaggier look.
We saw some sideburns that made me think of that earlier. A couple of Imperial officers having a drink in what appears to be some sort of control room.
Calf break.
It's something stronger, I think. I think
yeah.
You got some Jim Beam in there.
All right. And so this young lady, we've seen her. I don't know if has she been announced as far as do we have an actress's name maybe?
I'd have to
but
look
we've seen her a couple of times. I'm guessing maybe a love interest for Cassian. But
perhaps
she's taken on.
Adria Arjona.
Okay.
I think that's the actress's name from what I'm looking at here on the cast list. She's from Pacific Rim. She's a Puerto Rican actress. I think that's her. It's hard to tell. And she is going to be in this Andor series. I don't have a name for her character yet.
Oh, this is pretty cool. Now we're in a pretty sophisticated, perhaps city. We got a building with all these elevators going up and down, and we see a lot of
and sideways.
And we see a lot of sky traffic above. So a lot of so definitely. I mean, this could be Coruscant.
Could be,
maybe.
Could be. They're everywhere. Could be Orlando. Death Troopers.
Death Troopers with looks like a high-ranking Imperial officer. Death Troopers
or are they Purge Troopers? Oh, God, it's hard to tell because they have the shoulder pad on.
The pauldron.
The pauldron, thank you. And I don't recall if Death Troopers have that. And they don't look as tall, but I think they are Death Troopers. I'm not sure.
She's important.
They're watching me now.
Now.
Okay, Mon Mothma.
Yeah, Mon Mothma, Genevieve O'Reilly. And what we know about this series, Jim, is that it's really, a tale of two stories. There's the Cassian Andor story, and then there's the Mon Mothma story. Obviously, they're going to intersect, but I think there's going to be a lot of, individual attention to each character.
The speeder that flies in reminds me a little bit of the one Zam Wessel was flying around in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
A little bit. Or the one that Anakin was flying. It's blue and it's enclosed. But I love those speeders that look like cars. They look like old
it's very
cars
George.
From the 40s and 50s. Yes. And so this is Mon Mothma's ride. And she's paranoid because people are watching everything she's doing.
Right.
So they're watching me now.
So we see her in this is, I think, the first time we've ever seen her in something not white.
Right.
So this is her at, maybe some function, we might think, like a
banquet.
Right. And you can see the look on her face. She's smiling, but she's, like you say, paranoid. Yeah, a lot of green here.
The smile seemed to melt away too.
Yeah, right.
This reminds me a lot of the planet Galen Erso was hanging out on at the beginning of Rogue One.
Oh yeah,
when Krennic paid him a visit and killed his wife. These guys, again, here's one of those shots you'd have to tell me this is Star Wars. This actually looks like it's something out of one of those Ewok adventure films. Just from the wardrobe to the background, they're in a wooded area.
Well, remember, Jim, when we saw some of the earliest set reconnaissance photos, and we saw these sort of hut-like dwellings.
Yeah. We were told that stuff was from Kenobi.
Yeah.
But it's not surprising me to see it in the Andor trailer now. I think we were sort of 50-50 on those images when they were given to us.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're from Andor or Kenobi. What's that?
Well, we
There's
see
something
a guy
on the ridge
looking at through some macro binoculars here. Looks like he's holding a staff or a cane.
Yeah. I'm trying to see what he's looking at. It looks like some sort of industrial type of operation set up on a mesa.
Yeah.
These days will.
He looks really familiar to me.
He sure does.
This looks like a character actor. I don't have a name.
Oh, that's Stellan Skarsgård.
Skarsgård. That's right. Yes.
Yeah, that's who that is.
So I'm thinking he is maybe the sort of the top rebel spy would be maybe he's like the M of the rebel spy ring. He's going to be a character of some weight, I think.
He's the original rebel scum. Stellan is only marked down for one episode here, according to IMDb. So something tells me a lot of these images we're seeing here are from the first episode of the series.
Yeah.
And that would be consistent with the way they market all of this stuff.
Yeah, good point. This is pretty cool. So we see a large base or landing platform right in the middle of huge body of water. I don't know if this is a water planet. I don't think this is water, but there's several of these. Maybe this could be the Star Wars equivalent of aircraft carriers. Getting a little Top Gun action here.
Yeah, it definitely has a very naval vibe. I mean, obviously they're water-based platforms or ships or whatever they are. They look like just big pie tins, sort of in the shape of the Imperial cog. We can't see inside it to see if the actual
octagon there, sort of
But and there's 4 of them that you can see. It's not a water planet though, because you can see land.
Oh, there are mountains
horizon.
There. Yeah, right.
Very Star Warsy.
Oh yeah.
Imperial officer emerging from a shuttle with coming down the ramp with steam shooting out, a la the Imperial shuttle in Return of the Jedi. It was Kirsch who brought that idea of having steam shooting out of the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, was that right?
Stuff. He thought it just brought a lot of life to the set. It made it feel like it was an actual mechanical transport that we're looking at.
Well, he was
You
right.
have to ask yourself, why would starships be operating on steam? But whatever.
Well, there are, those steampunk guys. They think a lot of them claim Star Wars as a steampunk aesthetic.
As George Lucas said, it is whatever you want it to be.
That's right.
There will be no rules going forward.
Is this a cloning facility?
It looks like very much like the Camino cloning facility from episode 2. Those don't look like clones.
They don't look like clones. Yeah.
They all look very different. So it could be some sort of medical facility. Maybe it's a place where they're bringing in recruits.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Maybe we're going to see some of that transition from clones to a live action transition. We're seeing some of that in Bad Batch, but that transition from clones to the what do they call that? Conscripted? I don't know what the word is, but conscripted troops.
Yeah, or enlisted.
Yeah. All right. We see somebody looking at a hollow transmission of Cassian.
That is Cassian, okay. And this is where we might be seeing some of your de-aging speculation coming into play, because it looks like Cassian and it doesn't look like Cassian at the same time.
The hollow.
And who is that guy? And who's the guy looking at it too?
I don't know, but he looks like an 80s villain, like the clean cut guy that you can't trust. His hair is too nice.
This is a guy, an actor named Kyle Soller, and he is said to be in one episode of Andor, according to IMDb. Kyle Soller. I think that's him. It's hard to tell. Could be somebody
banging on things. This is the dinner bell. A lot of banging.
No, the dinner bell now. We have it broken down. The first one was a warning. The second one is dinner.
I think this is the back of that Kyle guy you were talking about. That's what I'm thinking.
Could be. Here we are in the Imperial Senate. This is what I like to see. Something bridging the gap between the prequels and the original trilogy. Of course, we know the Senate is in session all the way up until the events of A New Hope, when it's revealed by Tarkin that the Emperor has disbanded the Senate. So,
and we think this is Mon Mothma, right?
I think that is Mon. Yeah.
Okay.
Yaman.
And there's that female Imperial officer here, and walking through some troops.
They look to be wearing the same armor that Agent Kallus was wearing in Star Wars Rebels. Very similar vibes. And
doesn't Han Solo wear some of that in Solo? Alden Ehrenreich's Solo?
The Mud Trooper. Yeah. They could be Mud Troopers too. Now that I'm getting a better look with those goggles up on top, that's probably who they are, Mud Troopers.
Oh, was that a TIE fighter that flew by?
Yeah, and you can also see an Imperial shuttle of some sort.
Yep, that is a TIE fighter. Yeah.
Yeah, very Star Warsy looking.
Oh, yeah.
Outdoors. There's the guys walking down some catwalk. A lot of people walking from behind in this.
Yes.
ship.
Oh yeah. There's a cloaked figure with a hood. I don't think that's a hoodie. I think that's a full-on robe.
Okay.
Standing up. Oh, clone troopers, baby.
Were those clone troopers?
Those are clone troopers.
Oh, they sure are. Yeah. They're the final phase clone troopers. So again, going back to what we were talking about, the transition between clone trooper and stormtrooper, that could be on full display in this series. Oh, that's exciting. I did not realize that.
Oh, a bloodied civilian here.
Not too often we see blood in Star Wars.
Right.
And I know that there was a lot more blood in Gareth Edwards' earlier cuts of Rogue One, and those were really toned down a lot. If you look at some of the earliest trailers for Rogue One, you'll see bloody faces like this. And then when you see the final film, that's not the case. Just thought I'd point that out. There's that speeder again. Is that Mon's
This
speeder?
is a different speeder. Yeah, it doesn't have that forked front.
It looks like a different planet altogether as well.
Yeah, there's more of those blue-clad officers, it looks like, Jim. Yeah.
Yeah, they could be local security. Maybe corporate guild.
Well, jumped ahead, but there's that guy we were talking about. He was looking earlier at the Cassian hologram. He looks unhappy. Now this, what may have happened here is an act of terrorism, is what I'm thinking. Perhaps the rebels have struck here, or whoever's.
Could be.
That's what I'm thinking.
But that would more or less indicate that these guys in blue are Imperials.
You don't think so?
I don't think they're Imperials. No.
Okay. Oh, that's a cool shot. Is this
somebody jumping into a TIE fighter?
TIE fighter.
that's in the dock.
Gonna commandeer that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't look to be a TIE fighter cockpit. That's another ship.
And I think that's Cassian flying.
Yep, it's Cassian. There he is. Without
so
the
he's in
goatee.
Very Star Wars looking ship.
That's what a reckoning sounds like. So some old lady.
Yeah, an old lady, you know.
She's got a ring light there. She's about to do some TikToking. Is that what is that what that is? It looks like a lamp.
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting image, an interesting character to end the trailer with.
Yeah.
Said old lady, I believe that's Fiona Shaw, an actress named Fiona Shaw. She was in My Left Foot. She is also scheduled to only be in one episode of Andor. So again, I think a lot of the things we're seeing are from the first episode here.
Yeah, well, you know, like look at Werner Herzog. There was so much made out of, you know, him being in Mandalorian, and he didn't even make it out of the first season.
I'm relieved that we're not getting Mandalorian level hype for Andor. As a matter of fact, Andor seems relatively low on the hype spectrum.
I agree. There hasn't been a lot of hay made out of this.
Yeah.
And this may be, you know, like Rogue One, this may be a sleeper hit. You know, this may be the one that works for. And there's so many, you know, very vocal Rogue One fans that, you know, still say that it's the best in the post-George era. The best of Star Wars is Rogue One. So there we go. August 31st. We'll be there. Rebel Force Radio after show. We will be bringing you all the conversation after these episodes air. But lots of fun.
Yeah, you know it.
Lots of fun. All right, we have a little bit of news. So before we get into the cantina, let's talk about these two stories, and then we'll have some drinks with Kevin Lyle.
Nice.
I have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news. Come closer, I have good news.
You know, as I was rifling through my papers, I found here. I found my notes.
What do you got?
I found my notes from FJ DeSanto's appearance, Prophet or Loser. I've got all of his predictions written down. We're going to have to have him back, or we'll have to go through the scorecard and see how he how he ended up with the finale of Kenobi.
Yeah. Maybe next. All right, next week we're going to be taking the week off because it is 4th of July. We traditionally take that week off. We'll be back with Rebel Force Radio the following week, and we can go through FJ's scorecard then.
Yes.
So I just want to give everyone a heads up. Gives you plenty of time to get caught up on all the shows you may have missed, or if you're a Patreon supporter, hear some of the shows you may have missed there, or if you miss us enough and you're not a Patreon supporter, you can hook up with RFR on Patreon at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio and get a ton of bonus podcasts. That'll keep you busy the whole week we're off. You could also go to our YouTube channel where there's a ton of content there too. So while there may be no fresh RFR next week, there are plenty of opportunities for you to get caught up with our back catalog via audio and video.
Yes, sir. Boy, I was happy to see this story come out because I've been so curious, and so much of, you know, we're used to as Star Wars fans being treated to behind the scenes, and we know everything about how those 3 movies were made, and we know a lot about how the prequels were made. But ever since Disney has come into play, there's been just so much secrecy about what goes on behind the scenes. And George was just so transparent. I feel like he wanted, you know, he ran documentaries every time he was making these things. And so whenever we get to a chance to see or hear about how decisions are made about this stuff under the Disney regime, it's very fascinating. So this was awesome. This is an exclusive with The Direct. Go to thedirect.com. Nathan Johnson is the writer, and he got a chance to talk to the Kenobi writer, Stuart Beattie. Now, that name should sound very familiar to Rebel Force Radio listeners, because if you listen to the after shows, Stuart was credited on, you know, as writing parts 1, part 2, part 3, and part 6. And we know we Stuart Beattie. Well, comes to light now that Stuart didn't really write for the Kenobi series. He didn't even collaborate with the Kenobi writers, the other Kenobi writers. What Stuart did was he wrote a feature. He wrote a screenplay for a full-length feature film, the first of 3 planned Kenobi feature films. Back when we were talking about all these rumors about there being a Kenobi trilogy and Ewan McGregor being on board, Jim, we talked about that quite a bit here on RFR. And so he's credited as writing at parts 1, 2, 3, and 6. He has to be credited because apparently they used a large part of his original screenplay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They didn't use the Darth Maul stuff, though, which was definitely in there.
So, yeah. So we talked about this, how the Darth Maul transitioned to Darth Vader. Do you believe that Stuart Beattie's film, this first of 3 films, focused on Kenobi and Darth Maul and not Darth Vader?
Right. It had nothing to do with Darth Vader.
Uh-huh.
None of his films, none of the 3 had anything to do with
none
Darth
of
Vader.
the 3.
Right.
Ooh, that's fascinating.
That all came up when they brought Dave Filoni in. And Dave Filoni was the one who pushed Deborah Chow and the other writers and producers to go for it, to bring in Vader. And I think Dave did a lot of this to sort of deflect from the fact that he used Darth Maul versus Kenobi in Star Wars Rebels. Yeah,
I mean, I'm glad that he did, because
I am
the
too.
Opportunity to get Hayden back and some of the incredible stuff that we saw in Kenobi. I'm happy about that. And I don't know that we necessarily needed a live action remake of the Maul v Kenobi.
No. With Ezra there and all that. No, nobody. Yeah. No. But yeah, they went for broke, went for the Darth Vader, and I'm glad they did. They went for the big fish.
Now, Stuart doesn't get that specific when he's talking about the differences between what he wrote and what appeared in the series. The interesting part of this interview is he talks about how they had planned 3 stories. He says, he's quoted in here as saying, "So when I pitched my Obi-Wan story to Lucasfilm, I said, there's actually 3 stories here, because there's 3 different evolutions that the character has to make in order to go from Obi-Wan to Ben. And the first one was the first movie, which was the show, which was surrender to the will of the Force. Transport your will, surrender your will, leave the kid alone." So then the second movie was thinking about where Kenobi ends up. And one of the most powerful, and probably the most powerful moment in all of Obi-Wan's story, is that moment when he sacrifices himself in A New Hope. Great moment, makes you cry. But if you stop and think about it, it's a pretty sudden thing to just kind of go from being a fighting guy to seeing Luke and go, I'm going to die. That to me, that required forethought. That required pre-acceptance that this was going to happen. So Stuart's contention was there was a long way to go to get from the episode 3 or the Kenobi that we meet at the end of episode 3 all the way to the Alec Guinness version, including that ultimate sacrifice moment. He was saying it was going to take 3 movies. So what they did is they took his first movie and expanded it into 6 hours. And one of the things that's revealed too, Jim, is that in his original film, Reva, the character of Reva, was in the movie and she dies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is true. A lot of people are saying it was rewritten for this Kenobi series to make her survive, so it would open up to a season 2. And some people are saying that was done in haste after the series premiere already happened. I don't put much faith in that idea. I really don't.
That's a pretty last minute change.
Yeah. It's huge to think that they would go and reshoot all those elements. I mean, you'd have to reshoot parts of the last 2 episodes really to make it work.
Yeah.
So, and I know that was not I mean, things happen in Hollywood, and especially with weekly televised series where changes can be made on the fly. But I really don't think. I think once all 6 episodes of this Kenobi show was in the can, it wasn't tampered with really after that to satisfy some sort of creative urge to leave the door open to a second season.
No,
that
I'm
seems
more inclined,
crazy to me.
Jim, I'm more inclined to believe that obviously they had to make a deliberate decision as they're sort of translating this screenplay, this 2-hour screenplay into a 6-hour miniseries. They had to make a very deliberate decision about the character of Reva. I'm more inclined to believe that it was made so that character could be used in other things, that character might go on to another series, not necessarily her own series, but that she might show up later.
Yeah. But I think that's all predetermined before the first episode ever aired.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's all part of the grand plan. And this stuff was put into does this guy, Stuart Beattie, does he reveal like a timeline, like when he started working on the Kenobi series?
Yeah.
Part of me thinks it started in around 2014. Another part of me thinks it might be a little later than that, but not much.
Yeah. So they don't get too specific. They do say the Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series as a whole. All right. Originally, the plan was Stephen Daldry and Hossein Amini were brought on to direct and write an Obi-Wan Kenobi film. That was before it shifted into an episodic format with the launch of Disney Plus in 2019. Joby Harold was subsequently brought on to take over as head writer, paving the way for the version director Deborah Chow eventually brought to Disney Plus. So, no, they don't get specific as to what year. They reaffirm that Daldry and Hossein Amini were brought on to direct and write, and that Stuart Beattie was also a writer on this. And I the question, that probably some people listening to this are asking is, well, why did they go from making this a film or a trilogy of films to a series? And Beattie talks about this. He said, so after a year and a half of working on it, so they were working on this thing for a year and a half. They had Ewan on board. He was excited. He says the decision was made not to make any more spin-off films after Solo.
That really illustrates the timeline for me. So that tells me that the Obi-Wan Kenobi show was originally conceived as a movie around 2016.
Wow.
To early 2017. Because if they're working on it for a year and a half, and they're going to say Solo, they like to use that as a reason. And it is a strong reason why cinematically Star Wars was put on hold. But let's not also forget the fact that Bob Iger let it be known to all of his creative heads that he was prioritizing Disney Plus.
Yes.
He wanted to take on Netflix, and he needed content. He needed fresh stuff. And that's really what, it's convenient. The failure of Solo in the box office.
Yeah.
Along with the rise of the streaming platform. That's very convenient. And had the streaming platform not arisen, we wouldn't even be talking about pausing the Star Wars cinematic franchise. It would have never, ever, ever happened. I don't care if Solo made $2 at the box office. There would have been more films following that and The Rise of Skywalker. But with the streaming platform, now all of a sudden they have a place to put all of this stuff they were working on for the films. And I think it was wise to pause Star Wars as a film franchise. I think it was very, very wise. We were getting into some real haphazard territory there with the way, it needs to be treated with more respect, the Star Wars film franchise. Not saying that the streaming series is a step down, but it leaves you far much more wiggle room for experimentation,
yes,
for taking risks with the storytelling. you believe it or not, bringing Ewan McGregor back to play a character he played 20 years ago does come with an element of risk. It does. Now, they pulled it off flawlessly with Ewan, but still, on paper, it presents a significant risk in my book. How are fans going to react? Are they going to buy him playing that character 20 years later? All this stuff.
Right.
Ewan has remained remarkably consistent as far as the way he carries himself, his performance levels, his appearance, all of that stuff.
Yes.
You know, we got real
there's
lucky
not
with
many
him.
actors that can come back to a role 20 years later. And, you know, especially as you're, you know, approach your middle-aged years, as Ewan McGregor has. It's a testament to his discipline. It's really astonishing. We take it for granted, but it's really astonishing. I mean, look at Marlon Brando. Look at the way. Imagine 20 years after a Streetcar Named Desire or Rebel Without a Cause, he tried to come back and play the same role. Not going to happen.
And you know, keep it within our own universe. Look at Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
20 years after A New Hope was released, when Mark was showing up for the special edition premieres, he looked vastly different than Luke Skywalker.
Very different.
Now, sure, Mark was in a car crash and tore off half his face, but you know, that's neither here nor there. Things happen. That could have happened to you, and he's always riding around on these motorcycles with no helmet on. So just a cautionary word to the wise as far as that goes. But,
so once the decision was made to not make any more spinoffs, Stuart left and they brought in Joby Harold, and Joby was the guy that came in and took the 2-hour screenplay and stretched it into 6 hours.
Yeah, well, he left. Stuart left because there was this moment of limbo there.
Yes, right. It wasn't
things
happening.
Were shut down. Yeah, all the Star Wars film production, pre-production was all shut down, and nobody knew what was going to happen next. It wasn't until things were cherry-picked from that production line to then incorporate it into the streaming series. Now, the Favreau thing, that came across a little later, and that was always pegged for streaming. But the other things like the Boba Fett, the Kenobi, those were originally being developed as feature films.
Mando was always meant to be a streaming series.
Yes, that was always meant to be streaming.
And probably not anticipated to be the breakout moment that it was, I don't think.
Well, they knew it was pretty good because they based the whole launch of the streaming platform concurrent with the launch of Mandalorian. You know, that was the big showpiece of that launch was the Mandalorian. There was nothing else that was.
But I don't
new.
know that we were meant to be so starved of Star Wars by that point. In the original,
but were we?
Plan.
I mean, we were just months away from Episode 9. I mean, I wouldn't say we were starved.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Recall, the Mandalorian did launch 2 months before The Rise of Skywalker hit theaters.
There is a frustrating moment in this story. And I don't, I kind of blame Nathan Johnson, the writer. If you're listening, sorry, Nathan. But Beattie talks about what would have happened in the second film. He says that it would deal with Ewan's character, Obi-Wan Kenobi, coming to terms with his own mortality. He says, so again, it's one of those universal things that we all struggle with, to come to terms with our own mortality. So that was the second step of the evolution for me, that Obi-Wan was now to come to terms with his own mortality, somehow in a prophecy or Qui-Gon telling him that there's going to come a moment when you're going to have to sacrifice yourself for the good. And then Obi-Wan is like, what? No. I'm here to help. I can't. No. And then get him to that point where Obi-Wan has accepted the idea that he's going to die, and that he's going to die willingly at a crucial moment. And you know, and you will know when that moment presents itself. So that's the moment that comes up in A New Hope. And when that happens, you understand. So to me, that was the second evolution, the second film, the second story. if I have anything to do with the second season of Obi-Wan. So for me, if I have anything to do with the second season of Obi-Wan, that's the character evolution that I would take him on. That to me is really interesting. And like I said, universal. Well, you're probably wondering, well, what about the third? Because he talked about there's 3 films, there's 3 steps to get him there. No mention of the third. No mention of the third. I'm telling you, it's like when you're watching The Last Jedi and he's like, I'm going to give you 3 challenges. I'm going to teach you 3 lessons, and you never get the third lesson. But that's
the Last Jedi. The
Last Jedi. The second one, Jim, what he's describing is Obi-Wan going on some sort of adventure, internal, external, whatever, that would then lead him to understand what his role, his final role is to play in this story.
Yeah, and that's the Leia. And then that's all, and Luke too.
Right.
He caps off the adventure by stopping off at the Lars Homestead for a nightcap, a kidnapping nightcap. You know, you can't leave these kids alone for 2 seconds. But
yeah,
I really find the second part that's really compelling, where Ben has to come to terms with the fact that his destiny is to cross over into the Force and become powerful on a whole different level that, I mean, we as flesh and blood can't even understand. This is the stuff Yoda's saying when, luminous beings are we. Ooh. I mean, sure, it's great for Yoda to say that, but really try wrapping your head around that and then committing yourself to finding your destiny, which is to give your life, and Qui-Gon's there talking him through it all.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what you're being such a whiner about. You get sliced in half, but you're more powerful than anybody could possibly imagine. So quit your whining there, Kenobi,
But Master, I'm just so much better being alive, Master.
Well, there you are. You're whining again, You got to take it, get the bisection,
Oh, bisection, Master.
Can I just disappear?
That sounds awful.
Can I just disappear before the saber hits me?
Well, there you go. Now you got the spirit, You're starting to figure it out. You're finding your way.
And that's all the second season is. It's like an episode of The Odd Couple, but they're in a cave.
They're just fighting. And 6 episodes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to convince him.
The Kenobi, he's the neat freak, and the spirit of Qui-Gon is the slob. Master, really, it was so much easier before you were around,
Oh, where are my ring dings at,
Yeah, I think that when you look at what Beattie and the whole crew that was working on this Kenobi film, what they must have felt when the rug got pulled out from under him. He doesn't mince words. He said he was absolutely devastated. He said that the story was just dying to be done. Unfortunately, it was Solo that changed the direction of the system. He says, I like Solo personally, but it hadn't made a lot of money. It's crazy in some ways to think about it, how it was directed by one of the best filmmakers working today. But just because it didn't hit a certain number, they had to rethink. And again, way above my pay grade, but it certainly crushed us. Devastated, absolutely devastated. But that's the business, highs and lows. Yeah. I'm glad it got made. I'm glad the show got made. I'm proud of my story that got told. I'm glad my characters are all through it. And I'm glad I got credit for it. I just wish they'd been able to make my movies.
Yeah, the whole Solo thing, that is, obviously it was a production nightmare. I don't care if it was Orson Welles who directed it. It was a production nightmare, and it was rushed. It should have been pushed back to December, but there's some stupid Disney brain thinking that says that we can't let it interfere with Mary Poppins Returns. Who in the world would ever put Star Wars and Mary Poppins in the same priority scale? I mean, this is Star Wars and Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins isn't dog crap compared to Star Wars.
Well, that's one of the downsides by having so much IP under the Disney umbrella.
Awful. It sucks.
It's because they think all their stuff's important.
I say put every one of your movies out on the same day and just leave them in the theaters for a year. People will get around to seeing them. Why is it so hard to figure out? Why didn't they call me when Iger retired? But no, we can't step on Mary Poppins' toes. Screw Mary Poppins. Nobody liked that movie. Nobody. And nobody cares about Mary Poppins. Newsflash, okay? Everyone knows who Mary Poppins is. No one gives a crap about Mary Poppins.
No one was asking, what happened to Mary Poppins after that movie?
Nobody was
asking that question.
Everyone was like, Han and Chewie. No, we're going to put that in May.
Yeah.
So the Avengers and Deadpool can beat it into the ground. So no nerds will want to see it. Also, we're going to put it out 5 months after The Last Jedi, the most divisive moment in Star Wars fan history. So we're going to ride that wave with this half-baked Solo film that you can't even see on the best TVs.
Yes.
All right. I'm not going to go down that path.
All right. So I know what a lot of you are
saying. It's not all Solo, though.
No.
It's the rise of the streaming platform.
It is.
You can't rule that out. I think that is even more of a factor than what Solo did at the box office, because if you didn't have Iger shifting priorities to take on Netflix head to head, there would have been many more Star Wars films out in the theaters by this point.
Yeah. Yes. I think you're absolutely right.
It's not Solo.
If you're not 100% Solo, I think Solo played a factor. I think Solo.
Well, they did need to step back. But to scrap the Kenobi series, no.
Just because of the way Solo
they
panned out,
repurposed the Kenobi series and didn't call Stuart Beattie after that, which is lame. Why didn't they let him work on the streaming series?
If you're asking,
you've been working on for a year and a half.
Yeah, if you're asking yourself, is he going to be working on a season 2? If there is a season 2 or season 3, and hey, we've got these ideas in his head for how you might translate these treatments into subsequent seasons of the Kenobi series. Bad news. He only wrote one screenplay. He had ideas for 2 and 3 that he was going to write, but he was too busy working on the first one. He didn't get around to writing. There's not even really a treatment for 2 and 3. And again, the writer of this story, Nathan Johnson, didn't even ask him what the arc was for 3. So anyway, great story. And, it's revealing as to how this came about. I think it worked out for the best. Sure. I know a lot of people have said, this would have played better as a film. It wouldn't have stretched in as many places and all of that. Possibly. But I also think that the pacing gave us some really, really great moments that we might not have gotten if it had been a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, this is true. Why does it have to be a 2-hour movie anyway? I went to see this Elvis movie the other day. It was 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. Did you go see that?
Yeah.
I heard it's pretty
I'll tell
weird.
you. I'll give you my review after the show.
Okay.
Because it's not Star Wars. Nobody cares. Although for me as a kid in the 70s, 2 of the coolest things were Elvis and Star Wars, but that has nothing to do with anything. I would have preferred to see the Kenobi story being told with a major motion picture budget behind it. I would have. However, I did cherish the experience of the streaming series. I started the show off saying I'm in Kenobi withdrawals, essentially. I really missed the whole anticipation and excitement of getting a new chapter of Kenobi this week. I thought the whole thing was great, but I just feel like a story of this magnitude would have been better benefited with a major motion picture.
I don't disagree with that. I think that, I saw the flaws. I saw where the money was being spent, where the money was not being spent on the series. No doubt. And
someone told me a lot of the money being spent on the series went to Ewan McGregor's bank account too.
I think so.
You can't rule this stuff out.
Right.
They don't have a series without Ewan McGregor. So I guarantee you his management and agents are making sure he gets top dollar.
Sure. They'd be silly.
You don't have the series without him. Mandalorian, you can continue the Mandalorian even at this point without Pedro Pascal. But could you do that with Kenobi? Hell no.
No. No. Well, I got bad news. If you have the holiday season of 2023 circled on your calendar with a Star Wars logo on it, probably not going to happen. We know that on May 4th, 2020, Lucasfilm announced that Taika Waititi would co-write with Christy Wilson Cairns and direct a new theatrically released Star Wars film. But since then, not much has happened. In fact, Waititi, who's got the Thor Love and Thunder movie coming out later this summer, he said when asked, what's the status? He goes, well, not this year. He says, I'm going to be in New Zealand from August until the end of the year with Our Flag Means Death and Time Bandits. And during that time, I'll still be writing. And what he means, he's still be writing the Star Wars. I'm still trying to figure out, this is the money quote, I'm still trying to figure out what the story is. So, I mean, let's be honest. Even if he ends up with a script, Jim, by the end of calendar year 2022, it's likely that the earliest they could get this thing in front of cameras would be spring or summer of 23. There's nothing. There's no Star Wars movie coming out in December of 23.
No, and Rogue Squadron definitely is not going to be shot in time either to fill that slot.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that thing's on ice right now. I think if it does happen, it's not going to happen with Patty Jenkins sitting in the director's seat.
Which could be a shame because she certainly had a lot of passion for it and had a personal connection to fighter pilots with her father and all of that. And it had the makings. And, you look at, I just went to see the Top Gun movie, and I tell you what, that was worth every penny. I mean, as far as entertainment value, very entertaining. No agendas being pushed. It was just great adventure and fun, and it was clearly made for movie fans. Like, that's what I loved about it. It was clearly made. So we had a lot of fun with that. And so that you would think that, hey, if I'm Disney, I want to follow that up. I want to see a movie about the dog fighters of the Star Wars universe. Where's the Maverick of the Star Wars universe? Not happening. But this goes back to something that you've mentioned before, one of your pet peeves, which is these release dates that they announce without a movie. How can you have a release date without a movie?
Yeah, that's been the big problem. That's why they've had to take time away from the box office is because they've been announcing release dates for movies that have no script, no outline, no director, no cast, no nothing.
Yeah.
Just the name Star Wars. And that's a real crappy way to run Star Wars. And it's been going on since day one of the Disney acquisition. So, I mean, I'm glad there's more flexibility with it now. I know J.J. Abrams had to fight tooth and nail to get the release date pushed back from May 2015 to December 2015.
Right.
And as soon as those box office numbers rolled in during Christmas time 15, then all of a sudden, this is how Star Wars works now. Yeah.
Well, when I read this, I thought that, maybe it's a possibility. If Taika can get this thing in front of cameras by, spring 2023, that maybe we might have a May 2024 release and get Star Wars back in theaters in May. Possibly.
He does have a reputation as being a very efficient and swift working filmmaker. Mm-hmm. He has that reputation as someone who can get the job done in a quick amount of time. But again, this is Star Wars. And we have Taika telling us in June 2022 that despite the fact he's been attached to this project since December 2020, despite the fact that there's another writer working on this project alongside him, he still does not have the story together in his head.
Right.
So it's been 2.5 years. Or is that right? Or a year and a half?
Yeah.
It's been
May
a year
4th,
and a half.
May 4th, 2020 was the original announcement.
May 4th.
Yeah.
2020. Yeah, 2020. And of course, Kathy Kennedy made the announcement in the big Investors Day whoop-de-doo, December 2020. So that would be like the official announcement of it, I guess. But still, that's a long time to be thinking about Star Wars. 2 years, and as a filmmaker who has a reputation as being economical and swift working and very effective in the way he manages time, it's still been 2 years, and he's got no Star Wars story. You know,
no Star Wars.
If you tell Kyle Newman he's going to have a Star Wars film, he'll have a whole script for you by next week.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It'll be awesome, and it'll kick ass. It'll be everything fans ever wanted to see. But Taika is going to take 2 years and still be like, I don't know,
because he's got
meanwhile,
I
got to make Time Bandits and shows about.
Is this a remake of Time Bandits? Is that what?
Well,
this
it must
is?
be.
Of
I think
course.
it's probably a streaming series. I don't know anything about Taika's Time Bandits. Bandits is okay.
Time Bandits. He's got the Thor: Love and Thunder that he's out promoting. He's got a. I
don't like what I've been seeing from the Thor movie. Just as a guy who's a very casual Marvel fan, there are things I've seen from this Thor movie that doesn't exactly give me a feeling of confidence in my gut. So I don't know. It looks real slapsticky and silly.
It does a bit. It does a bit. I already committed. I said, well, take Bailey because it'll be our first Marvel movie in the theater together because we're all caught up finally. She's more excited for the new Guardians movie. Those are her favorites. Because they're just fun. They don't take themselves too seriously. But we'll go see this Thor. I mean, your Natalie's in that. She's kicking ass.
I know that's one of the red flags. That's totally one of the red flags. I don't like admitting it.
I don't like know.
I don't.
Well, that's it. That's the news for this week. I'm thirsty. I don't know about you, but after all of that, we probably should head off into the cantina and meet our buddy Kevin Liell in there. What do you say?
Absolutely. Let's do it before Nat calls.
Where are you going, Master? For a drink.
Sorry about the mess. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
All right, I drink from this glass, this heralded glass, to set the stage for our guest in the cantina. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kevin Liell.
I didn't even think to get that glass. I got a Galaxy's Edge Mandalorian glass, but it's still cool.
Same here.
I'm on my second Alec Guinness mug. Kevin was kind enough to give me a replacement at ICC-Con because
I love it.
My wife kept putting it in the dishwasher. And every time she did, at first it was cool. It was like the ghost of Obi-Wan because it was very light.
It can usually last like 2 or 3 times. And
then she kept doing it.
Yeah, you can't do that.
No.
Then,
but
I made a deal with my family that I'd take out the garbage, that they would stop putting my Guinness glasses in the dishwasher, and that does not work. Every night I got to hunt the dishwasher looking for Guinness glasses, but it doesn't matter. I have like 11,000 in my house right now. So.
Literally 11,000. All right. Well, Kevin, it's great to see you. We haven't seen you since Star Wars Celebration, and what a trip that was. That was I've been processing it in my head ever since we got back, and I think it ranks probably in the top 2. I think for me, just really not in terms of the show itself or because it's going to be very hard to top when we were actually hosting the behind the scenes stage and going up on the big stage at the end, but just the hang, as Jimmy Mack calls it, the hang, which is important when it comes to these events. Yes. Yeah. And so I think this was probably the best hang convention we had, and you were a big part of that.
Mm-hmm. I would totally agree. One of my favorite parts was right at the beginning was the bash. I thought, and I've been to all of your bash. I mean, every single one. You had what? It's in 10, 12, 15, 17, 19, and now 22. So is that 6? I've been to all of them. and that was my favorite. Not just because of my part in it, which of course was a little bit more extravagant than most, but it just was fun. It was that you got Disney in the background, the sun was setting, Steve Sansweet, Kyle was there, Daniel Logan. We just had a great time, and I have to admit, at the end of the night, when the security people said I can have a cigar, but only if I smoked it right at the edge, on the edge of the stage. So I sat there all night having Rebel Force Radio fans coming up and buying me drinks. They were really cool. They're like, can we buy you a drink? I'm like,
now I know why you like coming on this show. You get free drinks. Well, you know what though? You give as much as you receive. You're known for buying rounds at these events, and
yes,
the pin thing that I did, I gave for those of you who weren't there. I gave away a bunch of pins to everybody at the show. I gave away about around 300, and that was cheaper than buying the rounds of drinks.
No,
I got something for everybody, so I'm going to make sure that we do this next time, especially when you guys go to London next year, which I know I'm trying to get Jimmy to go. Jason, can I convince you to go to London next year?
I don't think so, man. We actually have. We've been discussing some plans for what Rebel Force Radio might do during that time. So we're definitely going to be celebrating. So it is going to be celebration, but we may not be there. We'll just put it that way.
Let me help in any way I can. I will definitely be there.
All right. Well, that's good because you can be our correspondent. We need correspondents that are actually there.
I would be Paul Bateman's assistant. Paul Bateman would be he's your lead reporter from London. I would not take that from Paul. I actually spent a day with Paul in London. Like 8 years ago. I went there for because we had to go meet with Disney Europe, and for some Star Wars stuff, obviously. And I've been to London many times before, but I asked him to take me to the places that nobody goes, and he found some really cool underground taverns and restaurants that were centuries old enough that like Shakespeare went to them.
You know what was interesting about seeing you at Star Wars Celebration this time is that you went as a civilian. You didn't go as a dealer with part of Norse Legion.
Which is so much better.
Yeah. So why? Just curious. Like, why did you skip the biggest Star Wars show of the year as far as selling your wares?
I had MegaCon the week before, and then Awesome Con the week after, and I just felt that I couldn't do all three, and it would probably be hard to do. I couldn't do MegaCon and Celebration because I'd have to race from one place to another, and they're on opposite sides of the country. Remember, I have to bring a bunch of inventory.
Right.
So I just decided I was already bringing 2 actors there, so I might as well just bring them, and that would be my only business part of the event. But it turned out to be really cool because, 2 things. One thing, it allowed me to hang out with you guys and Glenn, who's my best Star Wars buddy, I guess you could say. And we just had a blast. I didn't have to. I went to every panel. And do you know DJ Elliott?
Yes.
And he told me, I saw him in DC the weekend after, and he came by my booth and said hi, and we talked for a bit. And he was like, "You were in the front row at every single panel at this show. This is the most I've ever seen you."
That's front row Kevin. For the cores.
Front
that's what
row
you do.
Kevin. That is what you do.
I didn't have a booth.
And you figured it out. That's the thing. People say, well, how does Kevin always get in the front row? Kevin's figured it out. He knows how the game is played.
I have been in the Star Wars fandom war since I was 6 years old, like Cassie and Andor. I've been there since the beginning. I deserve front row. I bought the lunchbox in '77. I have the rump glasses from '77. I've been there since the beginning. I deserve front row.
That's a sentiment, that I'm hearing. I'm hearing it from you. I'm hearing it from Jimmy Mack, especially in context with we live in this time where everything is so polarized. It doesn't matter, how much you might, enjoy a new, Star Wars something. Somebody's going to come along and tell you it's the worst Star Wars something. And I'm noticing this kind of growing sentiment with guys. I would say our age. You've got a few years on me, but that are like, you know what? You finally just like had it. Like, you know what? I've been there since day one. I'll tell you what Star Wars is, punks.
Well, we're closing in on 50 years of Star Wars fandom, and that's nothing to besmirch or underestimate.
No, you're absolutely right. That's substantial. I remember when Star Trek hit 50. And I was like, wow, there's going to come a time when Star Wars hits 50. But yeah,
I remember when Star Trek hit 20. That's how old I am. Like I can remember.
I remember that one too. But yeah, it's a huge milestone, and it's there is. I mean, if you've been hanging in it with this, hanging in it this long, and you're still just as inspired by it, and you're still just as active as a fan. Yeah, I think you got some room to. We're not talking about gatekeeping or any of that stuff, but I think. Have a little respect for your elders and those that have come before you, because you're really standing on the shoulders of giants. Let's face it.
Well, I mean,
giant fans.
That kind of wheels back to the fact of not working a booth at the convention. I wouldn't have been able to have the fun that I had if I had a booth. The booth is a lot of there's a lot of work beforehand. Before it, I'm getting up early in the morning to stock it. This time, I was just waking up at 9 o'clock and walking to the front row of the. Of whatever panel was that day, and it was just.
I hear you.
It was just fantastic.
I hear you. I hear you loud and clear, because Jason brought up one of his favorite ones was the one where we hosted a stage, but I found that the convention blew right by us. We didn't really get to experience it that much, and I've also been in other years really obsessed with producing the Smugglers Live audio dramas and stuff, and that really takes a toll on you. I mean, doing prep work all the way up to the last minute and stuff. So I relish the fact that I did not have any obligations for this particular convention, and we were like floating like the breeze throughout the whole week. It was great. We did whatever we wanted. We didn't let anyone hold us up. Yeah, and we didn't let anyone hold us up. The days were as intense as we wanted them to be, or as chill as we wanted them to be. And it was just fully immersive in Star Wars from beginning to end. And the trip really made a huge impression on me. I rank it up there with some of my favorites. The Chicago one was one of my favorites. The Japan one was one of my favorites, but all for different reasons. And
we went to Japan, and you're not going to London? You're not going to London? You went to Japan?
And then for the other reason is because it was just they all have different reasons for what makes them so great. But this one I really walked away from feeling
and also in similar to what Jason was saying, the nightlife was fun too. That the lanai that you had.
That came in clutch, man. It really did.
The party that we had, and it was like 7 or 8, 10 of us, whatever it was, and we've all known each other for almost a decade. Most of the people that were standing on that deck I've known for at least 10, 12 years. Even Sheldon Norton's son, I've known him since he was like 5, and now he's a college graduate talking to me like an adult, and it was just and maybe acting more mature than me. And, he just had a
no questions there.
I did feel some nights that Chase was like the grown up in the in the group, but yeah, the lanai, that was the best. Like I think it was the extra $150. It was the best $150 I think I spent that whole trip, because it did give us a place to hang, and that is so important, because you see people, especially, I feel bad. I'll be honest, I feel bad for those that maybe this was. Maybe their first, second, maybe third convention, because we're a little spoiled. You've heard us talk over the years about some of the smaller shows, the way Celebration started, where the celebs were a little bit more accessible. The panels themselves, you could just plop down in one of the main rooms and sit there all day and just let the panels come to you. It's not like that anymore. So I think for guys like us that have been through that, we've kind of been there, done that, got the T-shirt, we're a little more chill. For those that are newer to this game, they're trying to suck, the juice out of everything. And it's so much harder. It's so much harder than it used to be.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
To try to do everything. It is impossible. You can't do that.
There's good and bad, because there used to be a time when there would be a celebration, i.e. Celebration 4 in 2007. They're like, there's a animated show coming out 3 years from now. That's the only news they gave us. Whereas this celebration, there was like 97 different things they could talk about.
Okay.
A couple animated shows, a couple TV series.
That's a good point.
I mean, there was talk of a movie coming, but we didn't hear any. I'm surprised to hear at least something like a date.
Well, because they don't have anything.
No, there's no
movie coming in 2023, and then it comes out later. I mean, it's not like
there is no 2023 Star Wars film release.
No, we just actually, Kevin, right before you joined us, we were talking about it, and there's a interview with Taika Waititi, and he was saying that he doesn't even know what the movie's about yet. And but don't worry, he's going to be writing over the next half of the next half of 2022. But even if they got in front of cameras in the spring of 2023, there's no movie coming out then. So
no movie.
Okay. Fair enough.
But okay, so Star Wars Celebration, fantastic. We were at ICC Con, like 10 days before that. It seemed like it was
like a couple, like 3 weeks before.
Yeah, it was very short. But you are really a road warrior when it comes to these conventions, obviously because it's your job, but it's also a big passion of yours. And I hear that you have something to announce here at Rebel Force Radio about your next adventure.
Yeah, I have a couple more shows that I'm doing this summer. I'm doing EternalCon this weekend in New York, where I'm interviewing Emily Swallow.
She's fantastic.
You guys can probably give you some pointers because you guys have interviewed her. If I'm not mistaken, the last convention that anybody did before COVID, you guys had.
Yeah,
and you guys interviewed her. So I'm doing her panel at EternalCon this weekend at Hofstra University in Long Island, which is kind of cool. I'll be with you. I'll see you, Jimmy, in Chicago for Fan Expo. But probably the biggest news I have as far as convention-wise, as far as jobs that I do, you guys know I interview a lot of people. I do it like about, 10, 12 times a year. Mm-hmm. But I got hired by Superhero Car Show and Comic-Con in Antonio to interview, drumroll, Ewan McGregor. And,
you didn't wait long enough for the drum roll.
Yeah, that was a
drum roll.
Mac was ready to start banging the bongos there, and
I gave you the 4-beat.
He didn't even leave you enough time. Jim, he didn't even leave you enough time to put the sound effect in post.
Sorry. Well, I was so excited. I had to say it. So
that's huge, man. Ewan McGregor. What convention is this?
It's a Superhero Car Show and Comic-Con in San Antonio. It's got a real long name, but it's got a real great guest list. It's got probably the best guest list this year. I got a list here. I had to write it down. There's so many. It's got Ewan McGregor, Giancarlo Esposito, Rupert Friend, obviously from Kenobi, Spencer Wilding, Darth Vader from Rogue One.
Oh man, Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan will be there. He was just announced last week. They were hoping I wouldn't go on your podcast till he was announced. So,
so what you gonna do, brother?
Right time.
Jay Peterman, man, this is chock full.
And someone I'm very good friends with is Sam Jones. I've done a lot of these shows with him, and him and I.
Oh yeah,
because we're both veterans, so we've kind of struck up a friendship, and it's going to be a great show. I was trying to ask, Jason and Jimmy, if you guys wanted to come, and at the very least, just come to hang out.
Man, I tell you what, it is tempting. So you're not only are you going, but you're going to be interviewing on stage Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I'm going to be interviewing all the Star Wars celebrities.
Wow, man. That's congratulations. That really is. That's fantastic. You've worked your butt off for this kind of thing. And I think it's just awesome. You've put the time in. Mm-hmm. You know your stuff. I mean, you really know your stuff.
Yeah,
and
he listens to Rebel Force Radio.
That's right.
And I listen to Rebel Force Radio.
That's right.
The number one Star Wars podcast. That's why I wanted to tell you guys. I found out about this about a week and a half ago, and then I reached out to Jimmy, and I thought it'd be a cool thing to, instead of me just putting it on Facebook like I was advertising, a new pair of socks or something that we're doing. I thought we should do something big. And announcing it here on Rebel Force Radio, I thought would be awesome. It's gonna be great. And I to be honest, I'm amazed that they gave me the job. But they just they looked at interviews and stuff. And a lot of the interviews I've done in the past have been recorded and they're accessible online. So they kind of saw what I did and I guess they liked it. The gentleman's name is Bob Wills. He's the CEO of PMX Events, which is hosting the show.
Yeah,
and he's decided to show a little faith in me and gave me the gig. And
that's great. I noticed that your ICC Con interview with Ian McDiarmid started popping up on my social feeds after Kenobi and that, the season finale with him making his appearance and some of his.
Well, remember he said during that panel at ICCC, he said his presence will be felt.
Yes.
I asked him if he was going to be lucky a fourth time. And we brought this up at the Bash in Anaheim that he said that. And the thing is that he was right. His presence was definitely felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool.
That's a guy, I tell you what, that was a great interview, by the way. That's available in its entirety online. And that is a guy that has really sort of come into his own as a entertainer at these kind of events. I mean, he really knows how to play the audience. You look at back when he first started making these appearances, and he seemed kind of, I don't know, like he didn't really think he should be there or something, but he's really embraced it and become, I think, quite a fixture at these things.
And let me add to this. This is one thing I've never mentioned in public. When I did the panel with him, we were talking backstage before we went out there, just like, what do you like to talk about and stuff like that. And he said, I want to hear from the fans. He's like, if you can get as many questions from them as possible. So if you notice, my interview only goes like about 15, 20 minutes. And then we open it to the audience. The last 30 minutes of the panel was him talking to the audience, because he was really that was important to him, and I think that's really cool that he wants to hear from the fans.
No, I think it's great too, and I mean that's really where some of the best questions come from, because there's the people that want to know what his locker combination was there on the Death Star, but you always get like that kid, or you get that one special question that he's never received. And have you ever had a moment where like a little kid or somebody just comes out of nowhere and just steals the show? I'm thinking about that Filoni. There was the Filoni kid.
So many times that happens. I was worried. I thought you were going to ask me about my worst experience with a celebrity.
That was the next question.
Because I have a good story for that. But I have seen it online where a lot of cute kids seem to be frightened by me, so they don't come up and ask questions when I'm around. But I did have somebody one time with a service dog, and Spencer Wilding, who plays Darth Vader, and Ray Park, obviously Darth Maul. They were really interested in this dog. The dog's name was Miller. I still remember this to this day. And, there was good rapport between the Sith Lords and this dog throughout the panel, which is pretty good.
Good.
But in answer to that other question, I thought you were going to say, I'm not going to say the name.
Yeah.
But I was at a panel one time. I was hosting it, and sometimes a question I like to know is, we meet these Star Wars actors, these celebrities, and obviously we all love Star Wars. What's their favorite movie? What movie do they like? And I even asked Ian McDermott, and he surprisingly said Bonnie and Clyde. But I asked this one Star Wars celebrity who I'm not going to say what his name is, and he just looked at me and he's like, "I don't like movies. They're kind of a waste of time." And I was just like, wow, you just said that. We're sitting in Hollywood right now, and you actually said that. Oh, that narrows it down what panel it was. How research to find out.
How high up the food chain is this guy as far as?
Oh, he's low. He's
okay.
Not,
all right.
Well, he's low. But he's not. It's. Oh, it was Ian McDermott. No, it's not. It was Mark.
Well, maybe
Hamill.
that explains why.
No. This guy was one of those guys that got hired because they're good at something else and not acting, and they became part of the movie like that. And I've probably said too much already.
Email your guesses. Show at rebelforceradio.com.
Yeah,
we want to know. Maybe you were there.
Yeah.
Maybe you're.
I'll give a $100 gift certificate to the first person who can email me the guy's name correctly. $100.
All right. Well, wow. To put it out there, you have to back that up. If you're putting that out there,
I will.
Oh, he will.
All
right. Show at rebelforceradio.com. Put Kevin Lyle $100 in the subject line, and we'll make sure.
Is it here on your chat, or are they going to contact me?
No, there's no chat. We're not live tonight. So
how are they going to contact? They contact me. Or
we'll put you in contact with them. They'll email us, and we'll make
forward
sure.
you the emails.
Yeah. Most of your followers know me on Facebook.
Followers? What are you? What am I, Mussolini? Followers? I'm David Koresh.
Ooh, that's a deep cut. Anybody remember that crazy guy?
Rebel Force Radio listeners. Well, you could tell where the way Kevin's wired. He's like, oh, they got people that listen to them, followers.
One time I called them viewers, and Jimmy bit my freaking head off because they're listeners. They're listeners. It's a freaking podcast.
Oh, please. I didn't bite your head
Yes,
off.
you did. Yes, go back and look at it. I was on the show.
Bring back the tape. Well, you know what? Now that we do now that we do the video, we do the video for our Rebel Force Radio Patreon all access members, and occasionally some of these the good ones. I mean, this one won't, but the good ones will show up on YouTube for.
Damn.
So,
Ewan McGregor. No, I wanted to go back to what you said about asking actors, like, what's their favorite movie? Because when I had the chance to talk to Mark Hamill, because his famous story on RFR at a fan day, Star Wars fan days, and Jimmy Mack lost his voice. No,
Star Wars Celebration.
Star Wars Celebration. I get them all mixed up. Star Wars Celebration.
2010.
I was there. Jimmy Mack lost his voice when I arrived at that Indiana Jones thing they were doing.
Yes, because GL in the house.
George. He kept screaming, KL in the house. KL in the house. Because I know.
No, it was
saying KL in the house.
I was at a whisper by the time you arrived. I saw George there. I started yelling, GL in the house right at him. Is top of my lungs.
GL. I thought it was KL.
Yeah.
GL.
He looked at me and he went, Star Wars #1. Star Wars. Some people saw a different finger, but I saw number one.
Well, anyway, so the next day, we got the opportunity to talk to Mark Hamill, and I'm so used to tag teaming these interviews, and Mac was like, I don't know what I can have.
Mark was amused with my condition, though.
He definitely was. As a voice actor, Mark was very sympathetic.
And I just want to clear the way before you dive in. I just want to say, even just being there and only being able to whisper a couple of words at Mark Hamill in that situation was like a thrill.
Yeah, right.
Because I did have a one-on-one with him in Japan, and we really clicked. And I felt it. I think he felt it. I walked with him after the interview was over. It took him up on stage, and he had me hang out there and watch him do his panel and everything. And it was just really cool. And so I had that experience. So as the Force would have it, I was stripped of my voice by George Lucas himself, and couldn't really participate in a Mark Hamill interview. And so Jason really got to, have that moment with his
I may or may not have put
hero.
something in Jimmy Mack's drink the night before.
That could have happened.
No.
That could have happened. But the shock of waking up that morning with no voice was just, me in the shower trying to get any sort of sound happening. Oh, this isn't going to be good.
Yeah,
but still,
like
even
one of those
just being there
buried
was
bodies in Motel Hell. You lift the bucket off. He's like,
I couldn't.
But I didn't know
that.
what I was nervous. It was the biggest. At that time, it was certainly the biggest Star Wars celeb I was ever going to have the opportunity to talk to, and a childhood hero.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing that came to my mind was I just really wanted to know what's his Star Wars. Like you were saying, Kevin, talk to these actors. What's your favorite movie? And I was like, what, you see all these people at this convention, Mark, what is your Star Wars? And then he went in and talked about the Beatles.
The Beatles. That's
and how much
Star
that meant to him.
It really is.
That was Star Wars to him. And he used his love of the Beatles as a way to understand what we all see in Star Wars. That was a way he could sort of relate to us. So
you said the question better. That's a better way. What's your Star Wars, not your favorite movie? Because Star Wars just isn't a movie to us. That's our number one fandom thing. So your question to Mark Hamill was much better. What's your Star Wars? Instead of saying your favorite movie, which he might have just said some. So I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it and ask the question that way. I will ask Ewan McGregor the question that way. And
He'll probably say motorcycles. I bet you anything he says motorcycles.
Motorcycle. Look, deep in thought. Did you see that? He was like the thinker statue for a minute. All of a sudden, he turned to stone, put the fist under the chin. He was like, deep in thought.
Just for the record, at Superhero Car Show and Comic-Con, I will be a professional.
Indeed, you will. Of course, you'll be talking to Ewan McGregor. That's so cool. And, this, I think, bodes well for a lot of fans out there who, missed an opportunity to see Ewan McGregor at Star Wars Celebration, because I think this means that he may be doing. He's not going to be doing every show, but I think this means he may be out and doing these a little bit from time to time. I think it gets. I think it's pretty attractive. Obviously, there's money to be made. There's no question with that. But it's not a bad thing to be surrounded by people who love and adore you, for 3 or 4 days, and to be told that repeatedly. And I'm sure it gets weird. I mean, we even experience it, on a much smaller scale at Rebel Force Radio, because you don't really know what to say. All you can say is thank you. People come up and say, your podcast means so much to me. It's gotten me through a lot of hard times and stuff like that. It's like, and I'm sure that what they're experiencing is 100,000 times what we do. But it's nice. I'm not going to lie. It's nice. Once you get over the new, what it feels like, and it's very nice.
You're right. The magnitude of it is different than the appreciation that a Mark Hamill or a Ewan McGregor would meet. But you are right. It's their passion. They wanted to be an actor. They wanted to do that. I want to do artwork, and you guys want to do, your art. And this is art. By the way, Rebel Force Radio is an art. You guys have created something that is a creative adventure, whether it's music or it's painting or it's like, the artwork that I do. It's something you guys are passionate about, and the fact that you can be appreciated for it, that's pretty cool. There's not a lot of jobs you can do where someone will stop you coming out of an elevator at the Rebel Force Radio Bash and start asking you, they can buy you a drink. I had a guy, I was in line to get a drink, and a guy offered to buy me a drink, and someone behind him said, "Can I get you a drink after this guy gets you a drink?" It's like, what am I, Clint Eastwood? I'm a freaking I make lapel pins and stamp, I mean, like,
you make damn good lapel pins. But no, we also have an extraordinarily generous audience, and
they're great. They're awesome, dude.
And this medium is it's just like whether it be talk radio. I think there's something very special about the spoken word medium, and it creates an intimacy. We've been talking in the headphones of people while they're mowing their lawns, or in their car speakers when they're driving their kids to school, whatever, for 15 years, and it becomes almost like a family. I mean, like, they know us. They've been there through the birth of both of my kids. They've watched Jimmy's kids and heard about them growing up. So it really is. It's a very special relationship. No question about it. So we know you're going to ask him about what's his Star Wars, but is there a Kenobi question after seeing all 6 parts now? Is there a Kenobi question that you're dying to ask him? Can you give us a little preview?
A Kenobi question that I'm dying to ask them. I haven't even started putting my questions together, because I've still got a couple more interviews. I'm doing several interviews this weekend, not just the Star Wars one. I think I'm doing Lee Majors and Lindsay Wagner.
Whoa! Holy crap!
Now you're tickling those 70s.
Yes.
Don't go too crazy, because I said I don't know if I have it yet, because there's a couple things in the air. This is the show Eternal Con. I've worked for Frank for many years, and I'm always a Star Wars sci-fi guy, and then I'm also his last minute guy, because he knows that I'm not going to flake out, and I can do a show. Like, for instance, last year at the show, he has 2 shows: Eternal Con in the summer and Winter Con in the winter, and they had the Warriors actors, the Warriors from 1970.
Sure.
The guy who did that panel had a family thing, and he couldn't come or whatever. And then so Frank's assistant came up to me and said, "Hey, 10 minutes before the panel," and he's like, "Can you do a Warrior panel? Can you host that show?" And I'm just like, luckily for you, I've seen that movie like 10 times, so yeah, I can do it. But so my point is that okay, I'll tell the story anyway. So he had the Blade Runner guys, a bunch of actors from Blade Runner, basically everybody but Harrison Ford and Rutger Hauer. No, Rutger Hauer was there, and so it was everybody but Harrison Ford basically. And I asked for that panel, and he goes, "Hey Kevin, I got this guy. He's the biggest. What is it called? Blade Runner fan. He's like you.
Yeah.
You are for Star Wars. This guy is for Blade Runner." I'm like,
he's hardcore.
I can't argue with that. I tried, but that guy, he was like just such a huge fan. Every question was about himself. Like, did you know that I really love this part of the scene? And do you know I like to play it? He was terrible. And then the runner of the show came up to me afterwards, and he's like, from now on, I'm gonna let you pick the parts. So I'll probably do Lindsay Wagner and Lee Majors this weekend. I don't.
That's
I don't
amazing. The $6 Million Man was my Star Wars before Star Wars.
Yeah,
the
I
action
got
figures, the excitement of those shows coming out every week, Bigfoot, all of them. I mean, it was all there. And Kenner that's how I got introduced to Kenner Toys, was because they were the manufacturer of the $6 Million Man line. And so when Star Wars happened and Kenner had that license as well, it was smooth sailing for me as a kid who loved to play with toys connected to the properties I loved.
You know what? I can't remember.
Which was a new phenomenon, by the way, in the 70s.
Jim Swearingen, the famous
Yes.
Star Wars designer for Kenner, he worked on that. I could text him. I can ask him because I'm pretty good friends with him. He did the arm.
Yes, yeah, it had a
or the eye. I can't remember. He did one, but not the other.
Those figures were so cutting edge for the time. Yeah. So
you weren't
don't
even
know
born yet.
the $6 Million Man. It was a 12-inch scale action figure.
Yes,
and
I have one in my attic.
Do you still have it? That's great. And it had like a piece of like balloon type rubber plastic that you could roll back. On
like
the
a
arm.
latex.
And it would reveal like a chip that you could pull out of his arm.
You can operate on him.
Yeah.
They had an operating table you could purchase.
Jim did the arm or the eye.
I don't remember. What was the eye gimmick, Jim? What did the eye do?
You look through it. You look through the back of the eye. And
like the Boba Fett. Yeah. The 12-inch Boba Fett.
Exactly the same type of mechanic.
Yeah,
that went into that.
People.
Made by the same thing.
Interesting.
And oh my God, was that a thrill? And the leg, you can operate on a leg. It was, and we had drinks with Jim Swearingen in Nashville. And had I known this, see, I was focusing on Star Wars, and I kept coming up to things with Jim. I said, "So, who came up with the idea to press the R2D2 dome and the X-wings open up?" He's like,
"Could you say it slowly?"
He's like, "That was me." And I was like, yeah, you know, I was going crazy every time. Anything I'd come up with, he'd be like, "Yep, yeah, that was me. Oh, what a thrill!
He was such a nice guy. I had heard the name, and I just never seen photos of him, so I didn't make the connection initially. And what an honor to be able to sit at the bar with him and hear some of his stories. And he makes a damn good looking old Ben Kenobi. He was in the last day. He was decked out cosplaying as the Alec Guinness version of Kenobi. Well, speaking of Kenobi, Kevin, we haven't talked to you since we all watched the first 2 episodes.
Right.
You watched them in our hotel room. No, you didn't.
No, I was blown off. Remember,
That's right. It wasn't
blown off.
Aside for more valuable.
He wasn't blown. No, he wasn't blown off. No, that was it. Look, we knew we had to go in and we had to do an after show right after we saw Kenobi. So Mac went to the premiere, and then we meet up with him, and he's telling us, guys, I heard that they're not going to wait till midnight to drop this. They're going to drop this thing at I think 10 o'clock Pacific time. And we're like, that's 7 minutes from now. So Mac hadn't eaten. So Billy and we run up to the room, and I'm futzing around trying to get my iPhone connected so we can stream it to the big TV and all of that. And
all the while he's texting Kevin Lyle, "Hey, screw you, man. I'm not."
No. There was a reason why you couldn't make it over. There was a reason why you couldn't make it.
I was with Steve Constantino.
That's what it was.
And
the signing.
He was doing a late signing, like the after show signing. And so we're the Obi-Wan Kenobi after show. We can't wait. So
and I totally, we all jokes aside, I understand you guys have these things are time sensitive, and I totally understand it. I totally forgive you. It's totally fine.
We have a responsibility.
I will not forget.
He forgives, but he doesn't forget. So anyway, long story short, we ended up not being able to do it because we had some all kinds of tech problems. The hotel Wi-Fi was brutal. But anyway, all's well that ends well.
I watched it in my room at midnight. That same night I watched it, so it's all good.
So now you've seen all 6 parts. You're online as much as any of us. You've seen some of the fallout. But what does Kevin Lyle think the guy that's about to interview Ewan McGregor in August on stage in San Antonio. What do you think about how this series contributed to the mythology?
I thought he was great, and I loved it. I thought it was a great story, as all the way through. There were some questionable things that I probably wouldn't have done if I was in charge, but I thought Ewan was great, and I thought everything that had to do with Kenobi and Vader, or Kenobi and anybody, was really well done. It was those side stories. I kind of, the last episode with Reva, I couldn't understand what she was doing and why she was doing it. But other than that, I watched the final at Glenn's house. Glenn Nelson, our RFR friend.
I've heard of him.
I met him through RFR, and so we've been friends. I long story short, I was at a convention setting up, and they're like, that's High Adventure. They're setting up after you. I'm like, High Adventure from the name of your other podcast in the past, and I was like, oh my god, I know him. So actually, I knew Glenn before I had ever met him. He loves telling that story. Like he was famous. He was an artist, a famous Star Wars artist before me. But anyway, I saw it at his house, and we both loved it. We both, but every time we go back to the Reva story, we were just a little confused. Like, why did you go after Luke? Have you guys? I watched your show. I watched your live show, and you guys didn't. You guys went over it too with a question, but no one ever came up with a reason. Like, why was she there? Why did she go after Luke?
Why? Well, I mean, we don't know, for sure. I mean, I think at the very least, you could just assume that she knew that there was something about this kid. He was obviously Force sensitive. Obi-Wan Kenobi, who she's not real happy with especially at that time.
How'd you get obviously he was Force sensitive?
Well, why else would a Jedi and a senator be in cahoots? I mean,
because they're chasing Reva, who's running around kidnapping children. I mean, she just stole Princess Leia, and no one thinks Princess Leia is Force sensitive.
I have 100 questions, and I'm the guy who can usually connect dots. I'm well known in the Chicago area as a Jar Jar Binks apologist, and I can make sense out of the Rise of Skywalker. That's just my credentials, but I cannot explain anything about Reva in Kenobi. Like, for instance, when she confronts Owen and they're on that catwalk leading into the garage, she freezes and says, "You love him like he's your own son." I mean, what prompted her to even make a statement like that? Why wouldn't she think that this guy
she's never had
has a son?
She never had a parent, and those that were her proxy parents, those are her stand-in parents, were murdered by Anakin. So But
why would she think that he's not Owen's son to begin with?
The last name thing.
But how does she know the last name?
I'm with you on that. Yeah, how does she know his last name?
Even know the kid's first name?
Well, if she knows the relationship,
talk to the neighbors.
If she knows the relationship that it's uncle and nephew, then technically it is not his own.
Maybe she was shaking down when she was shaking down that water salesman at the beginning of the episode. Remember, she pushes the meatpacking foreman out of the way who's being a bully, and she comes up to that guy and she wants answers from him. Maybe that guy spilled his guts, Who's Owen? Who's Owen? Owen Lars. He lives out there. Does he have a family? Hey, they got a kid, Luke Skywalker. He's adopted. Oh, is that right? Luke Skywalker, you say? So, I mean, if they had a scene like that, we wouldn't be asking any questions.
Right.
It's all about the storytelling, and why not have that in that scene?
Yeah,
why not expose all the information? It's the last damn episode.
But my point is kind of remove those questionable scenes, and Kenobi is really, really good. I mean, the whole, when Kenobi was talking to Anakin when Vader's head was sliced open, so he's talking to Vader. And he's like, I'm so sorry this happened to you. And you can see, I mean, it was some of Ewan McGregor's most brilliant acting. And I don't mean just in Star Wars. I mean, throughout his whole career. That was just a really, really well done scene. And it was,
very powerful moments. I give the whole series 4.5 stars out of 5. If I was going to rate it, take the half star for some of those slip ups with Reva, which, who are they hurting by exposing more information about this character? when they do things like that, it makes me think that they don't know what they're going to do with the character. Do they want to do other things with the character? Are they trying to leave it open for our interpretation, and then they'll lay down the facts on us in the future when they finally have it figured out? I don't know.
The other thing that occurred to me is we did see her using that force ability, that Kylo Ren force ability to draw information out of people. So, you could have easily had a scene where, where you saw that interrogation of the foreman at the meatpacking plant or something, or drew it out of Owen. I mean, wouldn't that have been something? What if she did, look, I don't know what's going on here, but there's something fishy. So I'm going to go and I'm going to suck all this information out of this guy. And that's when the whole thing is revealed. So who knows? But I'm with you guys, both of you. I think that it was sloppy. But who I feel bad for are the people that allowed that to ruin the whole series for them. When we saw some of the coolest, I think, as a fan, Obi-Wan v. Vader stuff that we
great stuff.
Yeah.
Huge character moments.
Oh yeah, it was the whole series was a blast. I loved every episode. I thought it was even the one I had to watch alone in my hotel room by myself. 3,000 miles.
Hold that grudge.
After seeing it all, would you like to see another season of Kenobi?
Absolutely. Me and Glenn watched all the way to the end of the credits, hoping we were going to see Obi-Wan Kenobi with one of those like Rambo machine guns breaking open a door. Kenobi 2.
Well.
And,
earlier in the show, we were talking about this interview that with Stuart Beattie, who had written the original, had written the screenplay for the Kenobi film. It was supposed to be a trilogy of films, and he had 3 very distinctive stories to tell. And he wrote the script for what became season 1 of Kenobi, and already had an idea for a second film and a third film. And so who knows? I mean, there's something there.
Does he get a writing credit on the series?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Then he's well involved probably. Still.
Well, he wasn't. He wasn't. He's credited as a writer for episodes 1 or parts 1, 2, 3, and 6. But that's because it was already written. He'd written a screenplay for a 2-hour Kenobi feature that they then, the other writers, pulled apart and expanded.
What I mean is maybe they liked what he did the first time, and they'll go back to his second. Right. That it could be. It could be. It's very likely if he was writing a movie, they probably wouldn't bring him along for the series. It'd be something totally different.
Right. I'm hoping. I mean, based on the interview, it sounds like he had a pretty cool idea of how to take the Ewan McGregor, episode 3 Kenobi and evolve him into the Alec Guinness version. It wasn't a quick, in his mind, it wasn't a quick transition.
Yeah, but that's going to be one of my questions. I'm going to have to ask Ewan about is there a season 2? And,
of course. Yeah,
maybe he'll tell me, he'll ask me not to ask that, because generally speaking, when I meet with actors beforehand, I always like to ask, is there something they want to bring up, like a new project, or is there something something they don't want to talk about? And sometimes those obvious questions that we really want is the thing that they don't want to talk about.
So say, is there anything you don't want us to bring up other than Rebel Force Radio? That's what you ask him there on the green.
Exactly.
Kevin,
I asked that to David Prowse one time. I was like, is there anything you want to talk about? And he said, I want to talk about child abuse and heroin.
Ooh.
Sorry,
I asked.
He's got a freaking weird sense of humor. And we did not bring that up. Maybe I shouldn't have said that in front. Well, it's okay. He's all right.
No, that's fine. He said a lot of funny. He was humorous with us a lot of times too. We had him on the show a couple of times talking about the one time cops busted into his house because they got a tip somebody was shooting a porno in there. And then there's David Prowse just sitting there watching,
Gunsmoke rerun
showers, Gunsmoke, yeah. And then the other one was he had funny stories about the time he bought Kenny Baker's car. And I forget what the humor was in those.
He got pulled
stories,
over or something, and
there was some weird story.
I interviewed him a couple times, and he brought up that car, and he bought the car from Kenny, and when he bought it, the door, as you open it, had like a leather strap coming from, and he's like, God, this thing's brand new, it's falling apart. And then what is a leather strap hanging from the door? And then he goes to the trunk and he opens the trunk, and there's another leather strap coming from the trunk. And then he realized these straps were because Kenny Baker was so tiny, he was using these straps to close the trunk and close the door.
Yes.
It's
a good idea.
Speaking of Prowse, his birthday is this weekend. It is actually July 1st, would have been his 87th birthday.
Ooh,
and Norse Legion, for the past 3 years, we've always celebrated David Prowse Day. We actually called it. It's a real thing. Oh, there you go. I was gonna show a coin. I had one in my hand. That is that's the coin that we're selling this weekend, and it comes with this nifty little money clip holder, as you can see.
Why don't you describe what that coin looks like for our audio podcast listeners?
Absolutely. So Norse Legion, obviously, we're a Viking kind of company. We have Darth Vader as a Viking god, a Norse god on one side, and on the other side we have the Norse Legion logo. So you never forget where you got it from. But
that's a cool logo.
It is a cool logo. I have people coming by all the time, and they're asking to buy my sign at conventions. Like, hey, are you selling that? I'm like, well, how much do you want for it? But no, it's my sign. I can't sell it. But we are coming up this weekend. Will be the first time we're offering T-shirts with the Norse Legion logo. But as an extra bonus to Rebel Force Radio and only Rebel Force Radio fans, we're doing a 10% discount from Friday until Monday, the 4th of July. We're doing a 10% discount, and all you have to do is write in the discount code Prowse, PROWSE, Prowse in all caps, and you can get a 10% discount. Now, originally, I was going to have the discount say RFR to London, but Jimmy was like, no, because we're not going to London. And I'm like, yes, you are. So we need to write in and get Rebel Force Radio to London next year for celebration. It's Paul Bateman's hometown. How can you guys not go to London?
I know. Well, go to NorseLegionStore.com. And Kevin, the 10% is off total order, right? Not just the Dave Prowse.
Your complete order. Dave Prowse, you're already getting the money clip for free and the coin for 15. So you're already scoring there. But if you use the discount code, you'll get 10% off that, and your entire order you get 10% off.
That's awesome. That's so generous of you. Thank you very much, man. It is always a great time to hang with you and talk Star Wars, and you're absolutely one of our favorites here. And I know you're a favorite of a lot of our listeners. So thanks a lot. And that what's the promo code again? It's Prowse, PROWSE, Prowse at NorseLegionStore.com. All caps.
And Jimmy, I'll see you at Fan Expo in Chicago next weekend. Booth 1135.
11:35.
It's so close.
We missed it by 3 numbers.
Yeah, I
but
know.
Booth 11:35. That's Kevin Liell, Norse Legion. Roll up on him here in Chicago and tell him you heard him on RFR. What?
If you come by my booth at Chicago, I will give you one of these coins for free. If you say you're from Rebel Force. How about that?
Wow.
That's me or anyone.
I thought he was just talking to you.
That's you and Billy Mack. You and Billy Mack.
I'll roll up. No, we'll be hanging out at Fan Expo. It's July 7th through the 10th at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center in Rosemont, right by O'Hare Airport. And like former Wizard World show. And now it's Fan Expo. And it's always a good time. There's going to be lots of Star Wars stuff going on there. Ashley Eckstein has a panel. Gina Carano has a panel. Anthony Daniels has a panel. So I plan on going to all of those, and I'm going to try to provide the best coverage I possibly can for Rebel Force Radio listeners. But also, looking forward to hanging out with Kevin at booth 1135 there, Norse Legion. Jay and Silent Bob are going to be there. Ming Na Wen.
Did you see all the Hobbits are going to be there?
All the Hobbits. Even the one from the Rise of Skywalker is going to be there. They're all going to
somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, right. We can just ask him to say that on a loop all weekend long.
Carl Weathers, Ming Na Wen,
lots of Star
John
Wars.
Delancey, Q from Star Trek: The Next Generation. I almost ran him over in my car once.
So that's going to be a big blast. I'll be there on the floor.
Almost as fun as Superhero Car Show and Comic-Con in San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah, that's right.
I like the name. I like the name of that. But look at all the celebs that are going to be in Chicago. So that's going to be a blast. Of course, Anthony Daniels always does extremely entertaining panels. You never know what kind of stories he's going to tell or what's going to happen at his panels. Always a blast. So we'll be seeing you, Kevin. I'll be there. I'll be on the show floor, probably hanging out with some Babu freaks, Billy Mack, maybe even Michael Mack, Dylan Mack, all the Macks will be there. So,
be a big Mac fest.
Yeah. So we go to McDonald's afterwards. But what did Puppet Lando say about
I'll see if I
Puppet
could bring
Zero?
you and McGregor.
Yeah, would you call up your buddy Ewan? Yeah, Puppet Lando said introduce Zero the Hutt puppet as Grimace from McDonald's.
From McDonald's.
All right, Kevin Lyle, thank you so much, buddy. Great to see you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for
All
having
right.
me on.
See you,
Take
Kevin.
care, man.
Chewie, get us out of here!
All right, that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you all so much for being here. What a lot of fun this was. Big thanks to Kevin Lyle for hanging out with us in the cantina. What did we learn this week, kids? We learned that there's not going to be a new Star Wars movie in theaters by December 2023. Honestly, I've enjoyed the holiday hoopla of Star Wars, but I'm ready for it to get back into summer. I'm ready for it to happen at the end of May. So, to me, one of the best things about this Taika Waititi movie being pushed back, which is not officially pushed back, but we can assume it's going to be pushed back, is that maybe we'll get Star Wars back in May. Let's see. We'll see what happens. Or Star Wars won't be in theaters for a while. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be a burning priority when you compare it to the streaming stuff.
It might not be accurate to say Taika's film is being pushed back either, because I don't think they've really made an official announcement about that December 2023 date. That was originally scheduled to go to Rogue Squadron, and I think there were just reporters who were assuming that once Rogue Squadron turned belly up, then that would go to Taika Waititi. But Taika's like, he doesn't have a story. So
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we're assuming that they would have just slotted that in to replace Rogue Squadron, but that would be unfair. That would be unfair.
Yeah. Especially considering the guy's working on so many different things. And why does Taika Waititi keep working on so many things when he has a Star Wars movie to work on? Why does he keep accepting all of these projects? Why don't you just step back for a second, Taika, and apply yourself to Star Wars and get your priorities straight, my man?
That's right. All right. Well, you got your priorities straight if you're listening to Rebel Force Radio, and you can get more RFR in your life if you support us over on Patreon. You can go to rebelforceradio.com and click on the Patreon banner over the right-hand side, or you can just go to patreon.com/rebelforceradio, and you can be signing up very, very quickly to whatever level is appropriate for you. You can get the weekly full show video if you're an all-access member. So that's the podcast you're listening to right now. You can see our beautiful faces. You can also get exclusive podcasts that you can't subscribe to on your podcatcher of choice. So you're going to get things like RFR Q&A. You're going to get things like the Babu Freaks, Clone Wars Declassified Remastered, Filoni Files, archive highlights, and so much more. All that is available if you are a member of the Patreon supporters. You can jump to the head of the queue when you're calling in. Look, we got a lot of after shows coming up in this summer and into the fall. So if you want to be at the head of the queue, when you call in, become a Rebel Force Radio Patreon member, and we'll make sure that we get your call on the air. And you'll join a community of some of the greatest, some of the smartest, some of the kindest Star Wars fans in the galaxy. All those details at patreon.com/Rebel Force Radio. The YouTube channel, we were talking about that, and the video with little Leia, that can be found at youtube.com/Rebel Force Radio. Check it out today. Lots of different playlists. Lots of different content on there, from classic interviews and parodies to the latest live stream and after shows. It's all there at the Rebel Force Radio YouTube channel. If you want to talk to us in between shows, we love to hear from you. Love the voicemails. We love the emails. The email address, show@rebelforceradio.com. Don't forget about Kevin Lyle's challenge. He was alluding to a Star Wars celebrity who, during a panel interview with Kevin Liell, said that he thinks that movies are a waste of time, even though there's a whole audience of people that are only there for one reason, and that's because that guy was in a Star Wars movie. So if you think you know who it is, send us an email, show@rebelforceradio.com. And if you're the first one that gets it right, you're going to get a $100 gift certificate to the Norse Legion store. That's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Voicemail line, if you want to leave us a voicemail, 708-3201-RFR. That's 708-320-1737. Follow us on our socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're there. And the official website for all things and everything, Rebel Force Radio, rebelforceradio.com. But above all, if you want to help us out here at RFR, the best thing you can do is keep listening to this podcast, subscribe, and if your podcatcher of choice allows you to do such, please leave a review of our show. Just one rule on those reviews.
Make them good.
And we're streaming 24/7 at Apple Podcasts, iHeart, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon, Audible, Pandora, Samsung, anywhere you can find podcasts. You'll find us here at Rebel Force Radio. And that's going to do it for us. Happy early 4th of July to all of our fellow Americans out there. Happy Independence Day. We'll see you next time right here on Rebel Force Radio. For RFR, I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
the Force will be with you, always.